From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Man, I'm not touching anything.
Good. Is this loud enough? Is this going to work?
Yeah. Test. Can you hear me? A little bit louder.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the late-breaking news of last week, wrapping it all up, explaining to you what they don't want you to know.
I can jack it up like higher than I've ever done before.
Exposing the fake news.
Wow. I guess I'll just jack the gains up about 10 points. I don't know. You know, we got gremlins.
He should have his mic off talking to me, but that's okay, folks. It don't matter. It's always an interesting evening here on Smith Radio. Sunday evenings, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, military veteran talk radio.
I've never had the volumes jacked up this high
If this
before.
is the first time you've been on the show.
Oh, is it because you did something with that?
Probably.
Okay.
If this is the first time you've been on the show, welcome aboard. We've got a lot of new listeners. Back in the 90s, I was in the Air Force, and back in the 90s, my cousin Kerry was in the Marine Corps. And he and I have been talking back and forth politics almost every single day for the last 10-plus years. And we've been very involved in the last couple of campaigns as well. And we started doing this show, audio only, about 4 years ago. And then about within this past year, we've gone to video, Periscope, and now we're on Vimeo. And I want to thank all the incredible Patreons that are part of our show.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much to make this possible, to be on Vimeo.com/Smith Radio. You can download the app on iPhone or Android, and Carrie just found that there's a major problem with the app.
No. Well, the app. So I'm on two different things. I'm on the app on the phone, and I'm on the computer. If you're on the app, if you download the app for your computer, you will not know at all whatsoever that we are live using the app only. Like if I just go and say, "Hey, is Carrie and Brian live right now?" The app will not give any indication whatsoever.
Now, you logged in as Smith Radio on the app?
No, I'm logged in as myself, and I liked.
There's a follow button.
Yeah, I'm logged in as Carrie Smith, not Smith Radio. So I have my own personal user account.
Okay.
I liked and followed Smith Radio.
Okay.
And now I'm on the Smith Radio page on Vimeo.
Okay.
And we're live. And
Yes.
all it shows is any of the previous shows. So if Vimeo is listening or ever listens to this is a major fail.
For them not to be able to have the video notification. Can you watch the video live on the app?
You cannot watch it live. I can only watch previous episodes. So you must go to your desktop, and as far as I know, I don't even think mobile allows it, but I might be wrong about that. In other words, if I go to my mobile browser, will it show that we're live? I'm not even 100% sure about that, but I do know that if you go to the actual browser on your desktop, it does actually show up as a live thing that's happening. So that's good. So you can do it from your computer.
And if you are on Periscope or you're on Twitter, you can jump over to Periscope. Apparently right now,
What?
Oh, I opened up Twitter. Did you hear about Rosie O'Donnell this week?
No. Did she actually make the news?
Yes, somebody put – okay, let's wind it all the way back. Remember Saddam Hussein?
Yeah.
Okay, remember when they found him in the hole?
That's not Saddam Hussein. That's the guy with the white T-shirt that looks like he has a sweater on underneath.
That's Saddam.
No, not even close. That's the first guy they found, the Chemical Ali.
Oh, Chemical Ali. Okay. Maybe I was mixing it up. But anyway, so somebody put her head on his body. Kind of creepy. Anyway, she has, whether she'll be found guilty or not, we'll have to wait for that to come out. But apparently she's involved in 5 different campaign violations, donating millions of dollars way beyond her abilities personally to Hillary Clinton. And we all know Dinesh D'Souza went to jail for that and is now a felon and cannot vote and cannot buy a gun.
Oh, he can't vote?
Not if you're a felon.
Oh, I don't know the nuances of being a felon, but that sounds really bad.
It does. It really does. So, but I'm checking right now. Periscope has we're apparently we're live on Periscope as well.
Okay.
Yep, there it is. So you can see us both live on Periscope and live on Vimeo.
Somebody said it worked, yay, in the chat on Vimeo. So that was Bill. I'm assuming it worked. So there you go.
Sweet. And
I'll take his word for it. Because that's the only way you really know for sure. You're flying blind when you're broadcasting through Vimeo. You do need some sort of a third party to say, hey, by the way, it's working, just FYI.
Yeah, and I've added all different types of things going on here, folks. So, and apparently, if you go to our website, smithradio.com, sorry for the long intro, smithradio.com, go to the website. You can click on the video if you got a good if you got a good stream, like you got a bunch of megabits on your internet.
Okay. I'll take that.
You can stream it from our website.
There are tech gurus out there that have just died right now.
See, look, we're live on our website.
Keeled over and, oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
We're live on
So just go to smithradio.com.
Right.
So is there a reason why we continue to call ourselves Smith Radio even though we're kind of a video show now? Like radio implies it's just audio.
Whoa. Are you talking about changing the name? I just went Keanu Reeves on you.
Whoa. Well, you could do something like that, but I kind of like it. I don't know. It seems kind of vintage.
What's a radio talk? Oh, you like the vintage? Like my shirt, vintage, right? So you like.
There you go.
So you like the vintage name Smith Radio? Because this is a talk show, political talk show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good deal. All right, folks. Well, we got a lot of stuff in the news. I don't want to say it's been the craziest week ever, but it has been the craziest week ever.
We say that every week. But by like Tuesday or Wednesday, I thought to myself, you need 3-hour shows every day to cover all this stuff.
Right. I mean, we're not even going to talk about the military the C-130 that crashed.
Oh my gosh, that happened this week? Yeah. I remember the story, but it was like early this week.
Yeah,
wow.
We're not even going to be able to get into that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's just so much stuff that's gone on.
So the witch hunt is over, folks. The witch hunt is over in the sense that it is completely, the wheels are coming off. The Mueller thing's so bad.
It's dragging by its axles in the mud is what it's doing.
So bad that they're trying to transition over to Stormy.
Have you seen those police chases where the guy already lost his tire, his wheel? He's down to just dragging the axle, and there's sparks flying up. And the other tires are flat, so he's actually having trouble getting it over 15 miles an hour.
Right, it's like really stuck in the mud.
Well, I mean he's still on the street.
Like.
Yeah, but he's like, the cops are just kind of waiting for him to stop finally. They're just kind of creeping behind him, waiting for him to make a run for it. That's Mueller. We're right now waiting for Mueller to jump out of this car that we know is over with. He's not going another, like a mile is not even, that's out of the question.
Yeah.
That's out of the question. We're just waiting for him to continue this chase on foot.
Yes. And folks, I lived in L.A. for 10 years, and there's one car chase that sticks in my mind.
Oh, yeah?
We watched it live. It was a giant RV.
Okay.
It was one of the 40-foot RVs. It's the biggest RV you could find.
All right.
They stole it. And they threw the spike strips out. The tires went flat. Sparks.
Yeah.
Fire. The RV was on fire.
And that'll happen eventually if you just continue to run on the rims.
And he couldn't control it and ran into a house. He drove the RV into a house. Got out and tried to run, but, dog's going to get you.
Oh, do we have the dogs? Do we have the dogs ready for Mueller is the question. If we want to keep this analogy going.
Good Lord, I hope so.
Yeah, and we don't know. We just have to rely on the people that are about to pounce. We've been told by Jesse Jane Duff that, it may not appear as though Sessions is doing anything, but you watch. He's got everything all lined up. So he's the dog that they're about to release, the hounds. About to release the hounds.
And if he doesn't, Nunez will make him do it.
Yeah, so there's people, when the cops come and have to chase these people down after their vehicle is 100% disabled.
Right.
There's more than one cop.
Always.
And they'll get it. So anyway.
Big news this week, Trump's MAGA movement Make America Great Again. Got some great, phenomenal news. This show will not be negative a lot. There might be some stuff you don't want to hear, but it's pertinent. You got to hear it, folks. But I got a lot of great news in the Trump world. Everything that Trump's doing to help make America great again is just phenomenal. Things that Trump's been doing that nobody in their right mind ever imagined would be accomplished or on the road to accomplishment in a year and a half. I'm absolutely shocked. We were talking about this even way before the campaign, that if Donald Trump did 1%, 2%, 3% of his promises, or even did, and that was the thing too, we thought that he was going to be able to do something, but at the same time, he's fighting all this deep state stuff. He's fighting the goofy Democrats that are attached themselves to CNN and Stormy Daniels, all while making America great again. It's phenomenal, folks. I've never seen anything like it. Even Rudy Giuliani this week said his favorite president of all time was Ronald Reagan, but now he's saying that he cannot even, going back, looking at Reagan's first year and a half, Donald Trump's done more.
Oh, absolutely. Did you read Jack Posobiec's tweet this week?
I've read a couple of them.
I don't have it in front of me, and I wonder if I'll do it justice if I try to paraphrase it. But he basically said that Donald Trump has done more than any other president, including Barack Obama, who at this point hadn't even founded ISIS yet.
Oh, he didn't even found ICE. Oh,
ISIS.
Okay. ISIS,
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he had to put Hillary Clinton in as the Secretary of State, and that happened in 2010.
Who knows? But how much was she involved in the founding of ISIS?
She was critical founding father. Absolutely.
She's a founding father. Okay.
Yes. It was her that helped to overthrow Libya. Her to help to get Syria to kind of start to fall apart.
We saw he's dead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. McCain, back in the news this week, he is dying. And I apologize, folks, to joke about McCain's death. I know Carrie doesn't know this, but I have an uncle who's in his late 70s, was on his deathbed, smoked his entire life, and God rest his soul, has passed on today.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Oh, it's his uncle on his other side.
Mother's side.
Because I would have known if it was on my side.
Because your dad is my uncle. The only one I've got.
This is well. Sometimes people call their great uncles uncle.
Oh yeah.
And like some people we know call me uncle when they're really my cousin.
Oh, my kids call your dad uncle, and they call you uncle.
Yeah, but I'm not their uncle.
No,
I'm their cousin.
Because
since
it's
we're
my
cousins,
brother that's the uncle.
Right. But they call me uncle, and you wanted them to call me uncle, and I said, well, you know what? If you want them to call me uncle, I'll take it.
Right. So he's in a better place right now. Absolutely. Smoking, emphysema, falling apart, cancer lung. I mean, just everything wretched. He's in a better place right now. God bless. However, John McCain, I don't know. He's still hanging on. He's doing his thing, whatever. He made the news today, said, I don't want Donald Trump coming to my funeral. And, I made a big mistake picking Sarah Palin.
He said that?
I quote, he said, regrets picking Sarah Palin as running mate.
You know what his real problem was with that? I'll just say this very quickly if we weren't supposed to take too much time on this.
Just a couple seconds. Yeah.
The real problem with the whole John McCain and Palin ticket was that John McCain never embraced what made her so popular. And it leaked out that there was a lot of infighting between those two camps, which totally sound legit. That they were fighting.
She wanted to expose Barack Hussein Obama for who he was. That's all.
Well, he hadn't. Yeah, right. So, but she was the Tea Party candidate, and she was legit Tea Party. It wasn't this fake stuff that Paul Ryan brought to the table 4 years later, where they're like, he's the Tea Party favorite. And we were like, oh, wow, maybe. And turns out he lied through his teeth to us, and so did everybody who said that.
Right.
But Palin really was, and McCain, being the establishment liberal Democrat wannabe that he is and was, decided we need to keep her clamped down and quiet and tell her to shut up. And if she speaks up too much, we need to tell her to shut up.
Right.
And then, of course, it got out that there was infighting and everybody. It exposed what McCain really is, which is not a conservative, not really holding up to traditional Republican values, and it was one of the main reasons he lost was because of the expose that happened when, if he had just said, yeah, I picked her for my running mate because she adheres to my values, we would have been like, wow, okay. I'm going to happily vote for McCain.
Down. Yeah.
So anyway.
And a lot of people said, I voted for McCain because I was voting for Palin. I mean, you got to kind of hold your nose. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. So McCain says that I want Obama to give the eulogy.
He did not. You've got to be joking.
Unless that's a mess up on the Twitter sphere.
Twitter sphere lied to you?
I don't know.
Why would he say that? That's like pretty much that. Did he really say that? I can't even believe it.
Here's the thing. This wasn't even supposed to come up in the show. If we ran out of time, we were going to talk about it.
Okay.
I haven't even looked it up. And here's the thing. I almost want to believe it's real.
Well, let's just say it is real. That has to rank right up there with John Kasich saying that he should have ran as a Democrat. He should be a Democrat.
Yes.
And that literally is that bad. So
yes.
Anyway. All right. So that was the lightning round, apparently.
We got. We'll be talking about North Korea. There's a study done that Breitbart posted about collective narcissism and what drives liberal belief in fake news. We'll get to that.
Interesting.
Also, the Kanye West thing. The Kanye West. Folks, we are truly, if you think about this, we are truly, all of y'all that care about other people in general, regardless of their skin color, and you're screaming from the rooftops, Democrats are taking you down. It's a lose-lose battle.
Right.
You're actually trying to help free slaves.
Right. A long time ago when I was coaching at an inner city public school, at my alma mater, by the way, so I had gone to this inner city public school. It was about 50-50 white, black, maybe 60-40 black, white. It was, probably majority black school. But it was close. It was a very, very eclectic mix of races, if you will. And so that's what we were. We were like this melting pot of Cincinnati or whatnot. And so as I'm older and wiser and coaching kids of color, I remember thinking to myself, man, I feel like there's like an ideology that's holding all these people down, everybody. And I started to think, and believe me, I've wised up since then, that this was just an unfortunate side effect. You got this liberal ideology where they're misguided people who really care about people and they really want to help people. And the problem is their solution for helping people is inadvertently holding people down. And it's hard to get through to people that this is not the right way to go about it.
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad for those people. I know you love people out there. There's a couple of folks out there that I know that are real hardcore libs.
Right.
I know your heart's in the right place and you want to help.
But here's the problem now.
What's the problem?
As I started to learn more and more and start to observe more and read more and learn more about the history of recent history, like what people were saying back in the 80s and 90s and all these, turns out it's not just that the Democrat Party or liberals in general are just out there trying to help, but they're just doing it the wrong way. They are actively trying to keep people mentally enslaved, mentally imprisoned, and on the plantation, all the above. This is an active effort on their part. So it's kind of scary. So it's not just that, they're just misguided. Some of them that believe in this that aren't on the leadership side, they're just a part of it. They don't know, and they're not trying to be bad people or trying to, hold people down or whatever. Or mentally imprison people, as Kanye West says, but they are the leaders of this are actually going about it, actively trying to keep people down so that they can be the perpetual solution to the perpetual problem. They have to make sure that the problem remains in perpetuity so that they can always promise the future and hope of the solution one day. That's what it boils down to. And we're like, we have this, on the right.
It's already here.
We have the solution. Just do this. Just try this. And just as Donald Trump said during the campaign, what the hell do you have to lose?
Yeah, we got to lose.
Vote Republican and just give it a shot. And now what Kanye West has discovered, and he's trying to sound it off from the hills, is, this might actually work. Maybe we should all embrace this. So there you go.
By thehill.com, Obama will give eulogy at McCain's funeral.
As per McCain's request? This is from The Hill?
Thehill.com.
That might actually trump, no pun intended.
The pun intended.
The Kasich. What is that wind?
It's right there. Yeah, folks, if you can hear something in the background.
I mean, I could hear it and I was like, because I knew it's storming outside.
It is bad. See, before when you used to listen to us, we were in an underground bunker. Now we're on top of a mountain.
We are overlooking the bunkers out there. So the problem is when we're in a windstorm, it's like, I can actually hear that. So anyway, all right, so you probably don't hear that because we have really sensitive equipment and it goes right into our ears. So I don't think. There's been times where your kids are yelling in the other room.
And nobody hears it.
Well, I hear it.
Okay.
And then when I listen to the playback, I'm like, I can't believe I thought I heard that. Or I can't believe I thought that everybody heard that, when in reality it's just a lot more sensitive in our ears. But anyway, I digress. So what else is in the news?
So we're going to talk about the witch hunt. We're going to explain what is going on. We're going to talk about Rudy Giuliani, some of that coming up. I've got the audio. I've got the audio bites.
Good.
And we can kind of go over it and just what did he say? What did he mean?
Right. And I've had a chance to really digest that myself and come up with my own conclusion, so I can't wait to share that with you guys.
That and I think Hannity led him with words that he didn't. He just repeated a Hannity word that Hannity handed to him.
Well,
not meaning to. So we'll get to that. And I mean, we can start off with the Kanye West thing if you want.
Sure. Yeah, let's go right into it. Since that's here's the thing. Let me start the Kanye West thing by saying this, since we're going to, there's people out there who are interested in this because of the pop culture aspect of it, and because of the pop culture aspect of it, there's people that aren't even involved in politics weighing in on this, and that's always interesting because it's like a massive tsunami of people wanting to sound off on this. So, you got a guy who puts out a tweet or whatever about this subject, and maybe it gets 60,000 likes or something like that, as opposed to you say something political that only political people listen to, and it's really popular. Maybe you get 3,000 likes and retweets, and you're like, wow, that's a popular tweet. You get a pop culture icon starting to talk about this, and all of a sudden you got tens of thousands of likes and retweets. So it's definitely interesting. It's exciting to know that so many people are all of a sudden exposed to the kind of stuff that we're exposed to every day. So,
speaking about pop culture, if you listened to the show last week, yes, when the show was over and we met up with my wife and I said, how'd the show go? She said, I cannot believe that you did not know Kanye West's wife and his mother-in-law.
Right.
She was.
Wait, mother-in-law?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, it is mother-in-law.
He's got two. He's got two. Come on, man.
We're gonna rehash that.
You're trying to ruin it.
We're doing the who's on first.
He's got two mother-in-laws.
We're doing the Abbott and Costello over again here. So, the thing about this though, it's not just that it's popular now, and there's a lot of people out there. Rush Limbaugh likes to call them the stick to the issues crowd.
Well, I'm imagining right now my father, who's seasoned
political junkie.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
And I'm imagining speaking to him right now, and that this is a very relevant topic, Kanye West and what he's talking about, because this ties into the information or the mis.
Wait, are you saying that your dad would say that it was relevant?
I don't know. He might glaze over and say...
There's people out there that are like, this is a politics show. What are we talking about a rapper for?
I kind of think my dad would say that. Not, forgive me, Dad, if you wouldn't say that, but I kind of think he would. So back up
Well, I was just going to explain why this is important. We need to start this off with why this is important.
Yep.
This is important because to this day, I still haven't heard a satisfactory explanation. And we bring it up every once in a while on the show. How is it that the South were all Democrats back in the day? And there was a Civil War, and then there was Jim Crow, and they're all Democrats, and then the North was like a lot of Republicans, and that somehow now the South votes solid red, and the North, especially Northeast, votes solid blue. What happened there? And I hear all these competing theories on what happened there, and I'll pick one and I'll say I think that's what it is. But I cannot say with honesty right now through this microphone here that, guys, this is 100% what happened. Everybody who says anything different is lying to you. I can't even say that. And my point is that one day, 50 years from now, people are going to be wondering how the black race was voting 95% Democrat. And suddenly, one day, almost like a light switch, it went more, maybe 50-50. Do I think that the whole black race is going to ever vote 95% Republican? I would be shocked. I'm going to predict no. But if they go 50-50, that's a major paradigm shift, a total, complete reversal of what the Democrats have been able to do. So my point is, in 50 years, will people talk about almost anything that we have in the lineup today? Maybe North Korea, because that's obviously huge. North Korea is like this, 68-year war.
Right, Nobel Peace Prize, they'll talk about that.
And it's highly, highly connected, highly connected to the Cold War, which is something that people are going to be talking about in 500 years.
Right.
Definitely. The Cold War is going to be in history books in 500 years, without a doubt. It's going to be talked about extensively. So obviously the Korean War and the leaders and the decisions that are made this week and last week regarding Korea is going to be in the news. Other than Korea, the only thing that we're going to talk about today that people have a high probability of talking about in 50 years, if things go the way Kanye wants them to go. In other words, he's successful in what his
and Candace Owens.
Candace Owens. Well, she's kind of the catalyst, but Kanye West is the guy with the 23+ million followers on Twitter.
Jeez.
Yeah. So in 50 years, people are going to be. This is going to be part of the explanation as to how the Democrats lost their stranglehold on an entire race, and so that's why this is important. This is absolutely critical in a discussion about politics, not just this week because of what's happening, but. Like I said, if this goes the way Kanye is and Candace Owens is attempting to make this go, this is going to be the thing. The books, you know how many books are going to be written about this? There's going to be entire books, lots and lots of books. Somebody's going to write a book about this in 50 years. Like what happened to, the Democrat Party, at some point. And I wish that somebody would write a book that satisfied my curiosity on what happened with the people blame Southern strategy with Nixon and all this kind of stuff, and I don't buy any of it. So if anybody would like to write me a dissertation or a thesis on what happened with the we talked last week about how we don't think it switched at all, right? Or if it did, who switched?
Okay. If there was such thing as a switch, in my mind, just looking back in history, the Industrial Revolution and the movement where you've got all the cars being made in Michigan, because I'm thinking about Democrats in Michigan and Detroit and big, Motor City things, and the unions getting a stranglehold,
right,
and possibly the Democrat Party working in conjunction with the unions to give more. Unions looking at it and saying, "Oh wow, I can see where we can get more if we work with the Democrats." Republicans, on the other hand, saying, no, that's not how it should work. And I think Republicans kind of fell out.
I kind of tend to believe that the Democrats came along after unions were forming in order to say that basically they were saying, how can we turn this into a voter block?
Yes.
And then they strategize, and then so I may be wrong about that because some people say no. Unions didn't even exist until communism. And so it was like this communist movement that led to labor unions. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? But there's arguments on either side of that. But anyway, so the Kanye West thing.
Yeah, so Kanye West has 30 million, almost 30 million followers.
30.
And Donald Trump has 50.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, apples and oranges, but I'm just saying in the limelight, Donald Trump's international. I mean, world.
Right.
He's in the highest position ever, and Kanye's just a couple million.
And as far as influence
million.
is concerned, there's a list somewhere. You can actually Google this really quick and look at it, of the list of the top 100 people on Twitter with the most followers. And if you like, the top 10 are all music artists. Like, really, right. I think Katy Perry is number one with like 107 million followers on Twitter. And it's weird because I'm like, I knew Katy Perry was popular, but I'm kind of surprised to hear that she is the number one Twitter account on Earth. That's kind of surprising. But
she's a really diehard lib. She sang for the Clintons. She hangs out with Bill Clinton.
The Super Bowl show, but so does
she's allowed to hang out with Bill Clinton by herself.
Wow, that's actually shocking. That's really shocking.
I mean,
Okay.
Anyway, so Kanye West, a couple of weeks ago, folks, Kanye West started making comments. He's joining up with Candace Owens, who's also black, outspoken, very educated, almost like if you want to talk like someone I listen to, Larry Elder, a black, he calls himself a Republican, part Republican, part Libertarian, out in California with a radio show, very, very, very popular. And now he's making his rounds on Fox News as an analyst. And these are the things that we're talking about that they talk about as well. And Kanye West coming out this week and saying that 400 years of slavery was a choice.
Right.
He did an interview with TMZ, which, TMZ does not like conservative, and they are Hollywood.
Yeah, but Kanye is currently, as we speak, not saying that he's a conservative. In fact, he tweeted out that he hasn't done enough research on the conservative ideology in order to decide whether or not he's conservative or not, and that he kind of hinted that he's going to work on that. That he's going to work on learning more about it to be able to say whether or not he's conservative or not. So, his whole thing is he's saying love. He thinks that people should love each other and there should be more love going around and everything should be spearheaded by love and all this kind of stuff. And love is an emotion. And we know as ideologues, or I'm an ideologue, and that's not a bad word, by the way. Just like a righteous person that's not a bad word either. You'll hear that all the time when you hear people say, stop with you shouldn't be an ideologue. Don't, guys, it's not a bad word. But emotion is what guides the decision-making of liberals. So in a way, your first gut instinct reaction when you hear that Kanye is appealing to the emotion of his followers to hear him out, your first thought is well, this is what the problem is. You need to be using your brain, not your heart.
No. And I got that study we'll talk about after this that confirms that.
Okay, and here's my problem with my initial reaction to that. My problem was, and this is a mistake I made, and I realized quickly the mistake. He can't appeal to the logic of liberals because that's not how they work. So by him appealing to their emotions is actually working perfectly. Right. By saying that if you're a truly loving person, then you'll hear me out as to why, basically my logic. You'll hear my logic out if you really are a loving person. I think that's a great place to start because you got all these people that are thinking with their heart and emotionally. That just kind of characterizes your average liberal, right?
Right. And I know you said that love is an emotion, is a feeling. I kind of like to teach my kids, and I kind of like to remind myself that love is more of an action.
Okay, that's fine too.
Do something.
I see what you're saying, and I think Kanye would agree with that too.
Okay,
because he's ready to take action. This is a major. This is like this has to be done type of thing. So I agree with that too. But logic is it's like this gun debate. It's like every time you start to make headway with logic, they go, see, you just like seeing dead children everywhere. You like to see dead children stacked up like cords of firewood.
Yeah, you like that,
because that's what type of person you are.
Yeah, I see you.
You like to see that with your own eyes. You love it. You love.
And see, Alyssa Milano was out. She was trying to spearhead the campaign to get rid of the guns, but her bodyguards had guns. And
oh gosh, are we getting into that one?
No. We're still with
we'll
Kanye
talk about
West.
that.
But no, that's the whole. I'm just telling you about the mindset.
Right.
That her bodyguards can have guns, but you can't, in the sense that
that's
it's
just
not logical.
That's logic that you just said there, but their whole thing is we need to get rid of all the guns. Just don't get rid of my bodyguards' guns.
Right.
And by the way, I got to tell all you conservatives, Republicans, whatever you want to call yourselves out there, that there's a argument going around. We're kind of changing the subject, but I'll say this very quickly. You can't make the argument that it's hypocritical for a liberal to say that you want to ban all guns, but you're being hypocritical because you're surrounded by guards that have guns. And here's why you can't make that argument. They believe that people should be allowed to have guns only if they are of a certain class.
Right.
They don't want to take all guns away from cops, although some people right now are probably screaming at their screen. Yes, they do, Carrie. Look at the Black Lives Matters. They're protesting cops. They want cops to be disarmed just like they are in the UK. I'll give you that argument that there are people out there that do want every single gun off the street. But I'm telling you right now, the liberals who have armed bodyguards, they're like, oh, no. They're okay being armed
because he's a different caliber.
They're properly trained, and they have years and years of training, and they're qualified. It's kind of like we shouldn't be allowing people to fly giant chunks of metal around,
right?
Unless you have a pilot's license.
And tons of schooling.
Lots of schooling. So so the whole argument that you're being a hypocrite, you're not seeing what their argument is. Their argument is no. They're qualified to have a gun, and your average person's not. So just think of that before you make that argument. But anyway, so back to Kanye.
So you saw the 30-minute interview with Kanye West.
Yes, I saw. Actually, I saw it multiple times, which is very critical because of the 400-year thing, and also there's a lot to say about that 400 years of slavery thing. I had heard this many, many times before. We have a coach that I coached with. I have a lot of respect for this guy. This guy's really smart. He happens to be a black man, and he's an older black man too. He's like he already retired. He came out of retirement to start coaching again.
So he's in his 60s.
I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's much older than me. But he's an unbelievably awesome coach. And, because of his age, though, he's going to have some different life experiences and stuff like that. So I kind of maybe understand some of his gripes. He may have lived through some things that I haven't even ever seen before. But I've actually saw him type into a Facebook post to one of somebody who happens to be white, something about we've been enslaved for 400 years, And so I've heard the 400 years. I've read the 400 years. I've heard it said and quoted by multiple people, and I've always believed that what they're referring to on the 400 years of slavery is that we have had slavery for 400 years prior to the Emancipation Proclamation. That's what I always assumed because, Christopher Columbus came over here in 1492. So it made sense to me when they said,
well, 400 years from this year today is 1618.
Right, which is why I thought that when they said 400 years of slavery, I thought they were talking about, listen, our people, our race has been enslaved on this continent for 400 years, and we've only been free for 150. But that's not the case. The case that they're talking about, and I'll have to credit Rush Limbaugh again. Rush Limbaugh pointed out this week that if you do the math, the 400 years – well, actually, let me back – I got ahead of myself there. if you do the math and you do the history, you'll find that slavery started in the first couple of decades of the 1600s.
History Channel says 1619.
Oh, the history.com. Okay. They say 1619. And so it just so happens that when you hear a black man or woman cite the 400 years of slavery, they're including all of the years since the Emancipation Proclamation.
Right.
And that I never knew. So when I heard the 400 years, I thought, okay, what Kanye's referring to is that he isn't referring to the 400 years of actual slavery. He's referring to what people are going through now.
What liberals will say.
Right.
Because if you think about it, if you listen to some of these lunatics, like that one lady, I think you said her name was Star Jones on the Talk, same show that Sharon Osbourne is on. It's just an awful, awful show. But she got choked up and was emotional when she said to the crowd, "You white folk don't know."
Does she know?
You don't know what it's like to be a slave. You don't know the slavery.
Does she know? That's the point, right?
But apparently she's still enslaved mentally.
That's the thing. And here, you know what? I have read probably hundreds of posts from black people in threads with the Kanye West posts, or people who are talking about Kanye West, who are proving Kanye West's point over and over and over again. And I'm like, why? You're actually, what you're saying is basically that you're choosing that you're enslaved. You're choosing.
Right, you're going to stay there. You're not leaving it.
You were born in freedom. You may have been mistreated. You may have been oppressed. It may have been systematic. It may have been part of the government or whatnot. But you're not a slave. And just because you want to feel like a slave or whatever, this is a choice.
Speaking about that, this weekend we ran into a girl. She wasn't black, she was white, but it was female. Okay. A lot of times females can be a little bit more emotional than males, but I bring her up specifically because there's a lot of women that feel enslaved by living
the patriarchy.
The
patriarchy.
Living in a man's world. But she had a phenomenal story, and her and my wife knew each other from somehow, and were talking for about an hour. Apparently, she was abandoned as a child, as a baby, and grew up in the foster parenting, the foster homes. And if you don't know anything about that, it's brutal.
Or can be brutal. Yeah.
And she had it really, really rough. Got away from that, got married, got a solid marriage, started turning her life around. And now she's going back to help foster children.
Oh, okay.
To help them.
That's
in that
cool.
sense. She could have stayed a victim. And this is how my life went, and this is it's not my fault. I can't do anything about it. It's all against me. Whether you be a victim of a home robbery or some kind of physical assault or something, and I'm not minimalizing any of the pain that you feel physically or mentally. What I'm saying, though, is just like those people who put the cross up on the side of the street.
Oh, yeah. Brian gets triggered by the crosses.
I got a huge, and I've made my case for it, too. I've got a huge problem with this, and this is all tied together, folks. This victimhood. Then there's one that's right there on, just, you know where I'm talking about. It's really big. It's really nice. Somebody took it down, and they put up a bigger one. Somebody took the picture off. Okay. And then they put up an enclosed plastic case updated picture.
Okay.
This girl apparently died back in 1992.
Okay.
I don't even remember it. I was around then in 92, and I don't remember any of this.
You lived in the neighborhood.
But not only that, but I worked at the business right in front where that cross is.
That is so weird. That it would have happened, and you would have certainly have heard about it.
Yes. So I looked it up on the interwebs, and it is official. It did happen.
Okay.
92, 102, 12, 25 years. We're coming up on a quarter century, 25-year anniversary of this girl dying.
Right.
And the cross is still up.
Yeah.
And it's maintained. There's flowers that keep putting on it. You need to heal.
You know what it is?
Somebody needs to go there with a chainsaw and cut it off and remove it all and put a sign up that says, go to church, find Christ, and heal.
Right. And the thing is...
Heal.
Heal. go to heel. Okay. So anyway, no, I think that the problem is people are getting so far away from Christianity, from the church, belief in what we believe in.
Right.
And they think it's just this life-ending tragedy for their own self to have a loved one go on to a better place. And we all die. We're all going to die. You know, you get the memorials on the back windows. I don't like those. I do not like those.
They're huge in L.A. in the Hispanic community. And I'm going to tell you my little piece on that.
They bled over to Cincinnati because we see them here too.
What happened was they got money from the person that died. They got money in the will, bought a car, feel guilty about it.
So it's a memorial.
So it's their car. They're driving the memorial for that person because that's how they got that brand new Cadillac.
The estate paid for the Cadillac. Yeah. Okay, and so they pay tribute to the ownership of the Cadillac, thanks to the fallen family member.
And we're not getting off the topic. This is the mentality of the people that we're talking about.
Right. The victimhood thing. So
yes,
yeah. You have to, at some point you have to realize you're only here once. You only get one life to live, and sometimes a lot of your decisions that you make are going to either alter your life for the better or the worse permanently, and you can't let these things destroy you. And I've actually had to tell people this, that where something that is really eating away at them, and all of a sudden a couple of years go by and it's really causing a negative effect on their life, and I'm just like, you got to do for you, because it's time to move on, and this thing that is causing you this pain and sorrow and whatnot is now adversely affecting your life. And one day you're going to look back, maybe, let's say you live another 30 years, you're going to look back and say, wow, did I ever waste a lot of my youth and health and blah 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 on just being upset about what has happened to me at this point in time. You got to move on. The weird thing is a lot of the black community who is feeling sorry for themselves for being enslaved or being angry at the white race for this belief that their whole race was enslaved by our whole race, which is not how it works. It's not how it works. We know that there were black slave owners. I think that was more rare than common.
No. There was a lot of black slave owners. But
percentage-wise, compared to white slave owners, it was probably small. And I see that. But the point is that slave ownership was a little bit more colorblind than people would have you believe. But it's not like you're born into this world as a white person having the authority and right to own a black person back in the day. Right. That's not how it worked. In fact, the percentage of I'm not going to look it up on Google, but you can do your research on your own. The percentage of white citizens in America at the time who actually owned slaves was incredibly small.
I think it was 1% or less.
Yeah, it was very, very, very small. So I think it'd be incredibly unfair. I have zero ancestors who have ever owned slaves, and we actually had some pretty wealthy farmer slaves back in, or not slaves, ancestors. We had wealthy farmer ancestors back during the time when slavery was legal, and they did not own slaves. They had enough money to own slaves. Why didn't they own slaves? Well, number one, they were living in the North, but number two, there were tons of abolitionists. Not sure how many of my ancestors were active protesters of slavery, but there were a lot of white people back in the day. Slavery could not be abolished without abolitionists.
Right.
Period. And I think some of our founding fathers were abolitionists. They wrote in the Declaration of Independence a scathing criticism of the King of England for enslaving people in a continent, in a different continent, and bringing them over to America. That tells me right there that we have founding fathers of America who were abolitionists, and they get no credit. Instead, America is founded on evil because we started with slavery. No, we only started with slavery because we inherited it from Great Britain.
History.com says it was the Dutch who brought the first slaves to the British new land of the Americas. And I mean, if there's two things I can't stand, it's
some people say Dutch were the first slave owners. I had learned years ago that it was Portuguese, which actually makes a little bit more sense, because when Portugal and Spain and France and England were all they were in, you know how we had the space race in the Cold War that led to the moon landing? Yeah, the space race in the late 50s, early 60s, or throughout the whole entire decade of the 60s. It was a space race between the Soviet Union and the United States. They had a space race of their own for the New World, I guess you call it a New World race, between all the wealthiest European countries. It was like 4 of them, I guess, right? France, England.
Trying to get the Americas.
Yeah, they were trying to colonize it, whatever. So in the course of this race, this battle to who could have the most land or the most control over the New World, I was told that it was Portugal that said, well, you know what? We could get a leg up on these other countries if we go to Africa and pick up a bunch of people there and enslave them and use them as labor to make the bottleneck in the New World back in the day was there just wasn't enough labor to do all the things that they needed to do to monetize the lumber industry and all this kind of stuff.
Even the harvest. I mean, think about what we got now with the machinery, mechanized harvesters and the combine, all this stuff.
Right. So the story I heard was that that Portuguese started with the slavery, and when the other countries found out that the Portuguese were enslaving people or using slave labor to get a leg up on them, they made the decision that the only way they actually were like, well, I really rather not do this, but we're going to get slaughtered by Portugal if we don't compete with them. And so they reluctantly decided to compete apples to apples, and they went and they got slaves. So that's how Great Britain got into the slave trade. And then all of a sudden, here we are a couple hundred years later, 250 years later, and it's like, now what? You know?
You say they reluctantly did it. I don't know.
They didn't come up with it.
Once they saw that they could go to Africa, and the black Africans would round up, some of these tribes would round up other tribes, weaker tribes, to sell them off. And so all of a sudden you got this huge slave.
Oh, I guarantee you there was a lot of people that were excited about being able to do this. But
I mean, look at the Democrats. They don't want to let go of them to today.
But my point is that there wasn't some English guy that was kind of like, what can I do to really put it to the black man and then go to Africa?
Right.
No, that didn't happen. It was more like, what is Portugal doing?
They're getting all this labor from Africa.
And they may have been outraged to find this out, that they were cheating by using slavery.
And they may not have been it. They might have been said, man, this is the Amazon of the cheap labor.
There you go. And so anyway, so that's the story I heard. The whole Dutch thing, here's why I'm reluctant to believe the Dutch thing. Why, if the Dutch were the first ones, was it on a very small, limited scale?
Yeah, they said 20.
Okay, because the reason I ask is because if it was the policy of the Dutch to enslave people and use slave labor in the New World, they would have had a lot more influence today, right? They would have gotten a leg up on all the superpowers back in the day. So that's why I'm a little reluctant to believe that the Dutch were major players in the slave trade. I think that one of the main reasons why Great Britain had gotten as much power as they did was because of their slave trade. And look at, why do you think Portuguese spoke so much in South America? It's because they were blowing it up down there, and they were bringing the slave trade and all that kind of stuff down there. So anyway, the point is this whole 400 years thing is for the birds.
Absolutely.
It was 250 years. And you can thank the founders who were inspired by the Enlightenment philosophers for ending the slave trade and the slave
and if you're
slavery in America.
Right, and if you're ever in Washington, D.C., you've got to go over see George Washington's place, hang out for a while, go into the museum that's there. It's not run by the government. It's funded by people who come and visit and donations, so it's a private organization, nonprofit that maintains George Washington's estate. However, they still use the word enslaved.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's all about.
But the museum, if you go through the museum, it is phenomenal how George Washington, how he inherited slaves and he wasn't allowed legally to get rid of them, how he talked to his wife about when he died, go ahead and get, release the slaves because you're legally allowed to.
I'm actually I'm brainstorming that enslaved term right now, and so I think what the reason is because slavery is a condition, not an identity. And if you call somebody a slave, you're identifying them as a slave. Where if you call them the enslaved, you're just describing their condition.
Oh,
so maybe it dehumanizes somebody to call them a slave, but if you call them a person who is enslaved, you're saying, okay, it's a person, but their condition is that they are enslaved. So that's
Are you saying like a difference between a fetus and a baby?
No. I'm more thinking James O'Keefe, who said that journalism is an activity, not an identity.
Oh.
And that's true. People are like, I'm a journalist. Oh, yeah? Prove it.
I'm a lawyer.
Yeah. So if journalism is an activity, not an identity, I would say being enslaved is a condition, and being called a slave sounds more like an identity, and I think they're trying to avoid that.
Okay, because I could see that if I was enslaved myself, I would not consider myself a slave.
There you go.
I would consider myself a potential escapee.
There you go. All right.
Because
a freedom fighter,
because I would be pushing the limits on how to get out of here.
I
want none of this.
I could see Brian doing that. Okay.
So
let me quickly say what the confusion was on the 400 years of slavery. The confusion is that the mentally imprisoned, which are those that believe that he was talking about actual slaves from back in the slavery time, that he was saying that these people were only enslaved back during the slavery days because they chose to be enslaved. And you actually have to be a complete moron to even entertain the idea. How can you believe? The only way you could believe that Kanye West is so stupid that he would believe that somebody who was captured in Africa, drug over to the New World in chains, and then pretty much imprisoned on a plantation to do slave labor, that somehow that they had the choice at any time to be free, that you believe that Kanye thought that, you actually have to be stupid yourself. Because Kanye is not a stupid person at all. He's probably the smartest person in the room whenever he walks into one.
I'm kind of thinking of Kunta Kinte. I don't think he would call himself a slave either.
He's a potential escapee.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so that mentality of choosing to stay there, and don't get me wrong, folks, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened. After the Civil War, a lot of folks that were enslaved or even indentured servants stood around and said, what do I do now? What do you mean? What?
Could you imagine being...
I'm living a good life right now. I'm doing good. I'm all right.
You have to do the mental, the thought experiment. You know, people were born into slavery, and so you have to look at it from a different perspective. If you're listening to me right now and you're a completely free person, you've been free your whole life, you've never been enslaved, it's hard to even imagine what it would be like to be enslaved. If I were to enslave you, you would have a certain thought about being enslaved.
You'd have a knee-jerk reaction, say, not today.
If you were born as an infant into this world as a slave, right, and you grew up your entire childhood through slavery, you would have an entirely different perspective on it. Because you, as a child, you have to learn about your world. And you're learning about this world where you're a slave.
Right.
And so it's obviously going to be a completely different thing. But In the case of Kanye, talking about 400 years of slavery, he was definitely talking about people who are talking about the 150 years after slavery was abolished, that people are referring to themselves as slaves or saying that they're still enslaved. Or what? I didn't even know this was happening until Rush Limbaugh pointed out the math, that the 400 years they're talking about includes the 150-odd years since the Emancipation Proclamation.
Still here.
Look,
Still here. Right.
You're not going to win over any intellectual thinkers like myself, or free thought people, I guess you could call them, if you're not being intellectually honest. And you could tell me about abuse. You could tell me about Jim Crow laws. You can tell me about how you could even talk about institutional racism, white privilege. Have that discussion with me, but don't start talking about how you are a member of 400 years of slavery.
Not today. not today.
I am going to shut my ears off and my brain off in that conversation.
I mean, if you join
I am done.
If you join the Masonic Lodge and said that you're now part of a fraternity that's 300 years old, okay, I'll buy that.
Okay,
but you can't just join the slave trade.
That's
you
just
can't. You just can't.
You're not, and I suspect, based on a lot of the tweets that I've been reading in the past couple of days, that they hope that we turn off the debate. That they don't want to debate us on this. They want to.
They lose every time.
Yeah, the liberals, the Democrats, they want us to say, "I am not having this discussion with you. I am done." Mute, delete, whatever, or block, or whatever. They're hoping that because they don't want anybody to shine the mirror at their ridiculous argument.
I'll tell you two people who want this to end right now, this conversation. Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. They're looking to be on the unemployment line.
Oh, they're going to be in trouble if Kanye has creates a great awakening or something. I don't even know what you'll call it. There'll be a name for this one day.
Oh, Candace is already talking about it.
Really?
She said that there is a movement, an awakening, a great awakening that's coming.
She used to call herself Red Pill Black, referring to being
thought that
red
was
pill.
So awesome.
Yeah, and I don't know why she changed it. My first thought was, Red Pill Black got banned from Twitter. Right. That was the Twitter handle. And apparently she just changed it to a real name, I guess. I don't know. So
company, something she's running.
Okay, all right.
Corporation.
Now it's Real Candace O, and that's Candace with an A. 2 A's.
Candance.
Yeah. So Real Candace O. Yeah.
Right. And so if you're not following Paul Joseph Watson, I don't know what you're doing, but you ought to. PJW.
If you're new to this program, just start following him now so we can all be a part of this big group together.
Big old family.
Yeah.
PJW did a thing on Kanye, did a little scope on it. It's 6.5 minutes long, but I clipped it and cut it down about 2 minutes.
Okay.
If you want to hear the version, go to his page. It's on there. He's on YouTube. You can find him there, or even on Twitter as well. Paul Joseph Watson full on Twitter, isn't it?
Well, and if you have on Twitter, it's Prison Planet.
Oh, that's right. What was I thinking? I'm thinking of YouTube.
I think it's either Paul Joseph Watson or PJW on YouTube.
Prison Planet.
Yeah, at Prison Planet on Twitter.
And people are probably laughing at us. Brian, come on, man. We all
get your
him.
coffee in you.
All right, so here's his little rant on Kanye.
Don't know if you've heard, but Kanye West has been in the news quite a bit, bashed from pillar to post by every legacy media outlet under the sun for the crime of promoting free thought, love and understanding, which, as we all know, are racist ideas.
He is saying these sorts of ridiculous things that are usually promoted by white nationalists, by fringe groups, by fringe individuals, mostly on the internet, that promote racist ideas.
So let me get this straight. CNN's Brian Stelter, a podgy white guy who works for a multi-billionaire global corporation, is telling a black dude that he's racist for encouraging African Americans not to listen to a global corporation and think for themselves. Yeah, a little less white-splaining, please, Brian, and a bit more shushy shush. Why do you think Kanye resonated with Candace Owens? What's Candace Owens' message? That black people shouldn't remain mired in the victimhood mentality of slavery.
I don't know why people like being oppressed. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. I love oppression. We're oppressed. 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, which, by the way, none of you guys lived through.
That Kanye is a Russian agent. Oh.
I had to pause it because he made it too quick, but this guy, Eric Garland, did say that Kanye may be a Russian agent.
Oh, goodness. Unbelievable.
Conservatives, Trump supporters, and free thinkers, please do not attach yourselves to Kanye West. It will backfire. Mark my words, it will backfire.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Everybody's
backfired.
allowed a moment, Carrie.
No.
Carrie.
No.
Everybody, sorry, folks. I had to put that in there. I love Tomi Lahren. Since she's been with Fox,
she blew up the wrong way.
I'm not liking
her. She's melting down big time.
Conservatives embracing Kanye has backfired so badly that support for Trump amongst black males has doubled in a single week.
Awesome
Mark my words, it will backfire.
Mark my words.
Yeah, I marked your words and they were disproven within a matter of hours. Why do establishment conservatives like Shapiro always try to shit all over every fantastic opportunity? A chance to help millions of African Americans get off the plantation of government dependency to escape the internalized oppression of identity politics. I mean, is it some kind of cuckoldry thing? Do they like to lose? So we have a global celebrity with a reach of millions, exposing those millions to thoughts and ideas they would never otherwise hear. A method that's already proving successful in the polls. And people like Shapiro are pissing their pants in fear of what might happen. I mean, God forbid we want to actually win a battle in the culture war. If that happens, Shapiro might not get invited back on CNN.
So it turns out there's these polls happen a lot. I don't want to create fake news here, but it did double from 11% to 22% in the week that Kanye has come out and did this whole free thinker movement, which I think is great. But I will, just full disclosure, this same poll is very erratic on a week-by-week basis. I don't think it's a coincidence that it went up. But it may have been a coincidence that it went up as much as it did because it has had some big swings. But the point is that it did go up, and it went up huge in the same week. And this is a poll of black males, not just all black people, but black males. So I think that's obviously a big part. And the thing is I don't think it's a coincidence. I really don't. And I think that this is big, and it could get even better. You know, from 11% to 22%. Wait till it gets to like 40, 45%. I mean, this is a major, major shift. Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
I want to point this out because there's probably a good amount of people that listen to us that may not even know that they have Tomi Lahren, Ben Shapiro leanings, and they may not even know why. They may not even recognize. They may oppose Ben Shapiro and because Ben Shapiro is a never Trumper. I don't think Tomi Lahren's a never Trumper.
No.
She shares Ben Shapiro's skepticism on Kanye West liking Trump. Kanye West perfectly answered Ben Shapiro and Tomi Lahren's concerns. I think perfectly satisfactory to my mind because I understand this. And that is, he said, we know he tweeted out that he doesn't understand the conservative ideology enough to know
if he is
or not. And he's going to do some research. But he also said, I'm not that political, but I love Trump. Trump is my boy. Those are his exact words. That kind of sums it up, right? And what do we know about Trump? Republicans and people like Ben Shapiro. That is that the never Trumper Republicans like Ben Shapiro hate Trump because as a purist, as a conservative purist, there's just too many things that worry Ben so much that he has just made the decision that Trump's not a conservative. He's not a Republican. He shouldn't be a member of the Republican Party. And that this is really dangerous to have him representing the Republican Party, and so that's why he says what he says. So the point, so the thing you got to understand is that Kanye, people like Tomi Lahren and Ben Shapiro are worried that Kanye, being a spokesperson for Trump, they're worried that he also could double as a spokesperson for Republicans. On behalf of the entire black race, they can't fathom it. They're so worried about the risk involved in that. That somehow he'll go around and teach them that we should also ban guns. Because remember, he also called Emma Gonzalez his hero. And so
which was kind of crazy.
Well, it caused Ben Shapiro to instantly insta tweet, see, I told you, it backfired, blah, 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 because he said that Emma Gonzalez was his hero. Here's the thing. I don't think he understands the ideologies enough to know that Emma Gonzalez and supporting Trump are just completely incompatible. He just doesn't understand it. He's looking at it more from an emotional standpoint of Emma Gonzalez going out there and speaking her mind and speaking what she believes the truth is, and it resonating with a lot of people. Trump does that too. So he kind of puts that. He looks at them as some sort of a parallel there. But what he doesn't realize is if when he learns, and I hope he does, when he learns the ideological differences between the two and how they're incompatible. We know that Marxism is incompatible with free market capitalism and freedom and the kind of freedoms that are protected under the Bill of Rights. They're incompatible. And so when you look at an Emma Gonzalez who's trying to abolish the Second Amendment and she has the Cuban patch on her arm, and then you look at a Trump who is saying that I would love to have this happen, but it's not my job. It's Congress's job. So his ideology is more of a constitutionalist, right?
Right.
So they would be incompatible. It's like if Trump went to Emma Gonzalez and said, you tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. And Emma Gonzalez says, do an executive order banning all guns. Trump would not write an executive order banning all guns. He would say, okay, I can't do that because the Constitution doesn't allow me to do that, but I'll make mention to Congress. That's all he can do.
See if we could kind of do something.
Yeah. So without getting too long-winded, the point is this is the main point that I want to make. Ben Shapiro represents a segment of the Republican Party that does not understand the black race. They just don't.
And they would happily, gladly vote for John McCain all day long.
And when I mean black race, I mean black culture.
They would gladly vote John McCain all day long.
He would probably vote. He would vote for John McCain over Trump.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
That's for sure. But I believe Ben Shapiro would also prefer a Cruz over a McCain. I think that he doesn't like. He doesn't like.
You think you'd go Cruz over McCain?
Oh, absolutely. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not an establishment type cuck. He's
misguided.
He's more of a. He's a purist. Look, guys, you got to know all the different labels here and all the different categories of conservatism. It's very important. There are people out there who they should be in the Democrat Party. They're the old school
John
Republicans.
Kasich.
Yeah, these are old school Republicans that think that things need to be done a certain way, the Washington way, and that's your establishment types. You have the purists who were all totally for Cruz. And when Trump beat him in the primaries, they became never-Trumpers because it wasn't conservative to support the Republican nominee if it was Trump. So they became never-Trumpers. And I believe that's what Ben Shapiro falls under. And these are purists. By purists, I mean if it isn't perfect, if you aren't following the ideology absolutely perfectly to the letter, think of it as like a evangelical Christian. It has to be to the letter, or a fundamentalist Muslim. It's like if you aren't adhering to the Quran word by word by word by word, then you're not a true Muslim. That type of thing. And so the purist in the conservative world is a purist when it comes to the conservative ideology. And in this case, they believe that Trump's not a purist, and Kanye West as a rapper who's not even political and that just loves Trump is so far from pure. He is on the opposite spectrum of pure, and that's why you're getting this reaction from Tommy Learn and Ben Shapiro. And there's people out there that are fans of ours that are conservative. They're very conservative, that don't understand that there's a long journey here. that we have to bring the black culture back from, that the Democrats have dragged them down or dragged them down. Is it dragged or drug? I think it's dragged.
Well, I mean, if you're Bill Cosby, it's drugged.
Oh my goodness! So the Democrat Party has dragged an entire race of people, an entire culture.
I couldn't help that one.
Down this long road, and they're so far dangling off the cliff that we got to bring them back one step at a time until they have achieved mental freedom, as Kanye would like to put it.
Right.
And then everything will be good. And I mean good. I mean the problems we see in the black community are as a result of embracing Democrat policy.
Right.
And when they get away from that, you're going to start seeing success stories as opposed to just this grinding poverty and social failure that we see with the black culture largely, but you also see it with other cultures that are also embracing Democrat policies. And the Democrats in leadership do this on purpose because they know that it's going to empower them to be able to say, we're going to fix this, guys. Well, I think Kanye's finally like, you've had plenty of time, and it's not working. You had a black president. We have a black president, Obama, and things got worse, so it didn't work. So anyway, hopefully I didn't blow you out there, Brian.
No, so this Cinco de Mayo, everybody, happy Cinco. It was yesterday. I know today's 6th.
What is the history of Cinco de Mayo?
Cinco de Mayo was a war that Mexico fought and won and then lost.
Okay, who'd they fight against? Something.
French.
Something.
But I do know for a fact.
Do you celebrate it?
I do. No, I don't. Well, I mean,
some people think it's a holiday where you can go out and drink lots of Coronas.
It's actually Budweiser Day.
Oh, Budweiser Day.
Budweiser has cornered the market and the Americans who have Hispanic descent.
Oh, okay. Like when you say Budweiser, you mean the red and white can, or like Bud Light, which is the blue can?
The red leaded.
Leaded. Okay. And
the white, the red white.
Leaded. I'll take. You want Bud Light? I'll take leaded.
I'll take leaded.
Wow.
So, and I bring that up because this marks 200 years since Karl Marx was born.
Today? Or
5th, yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Yesterday, 5th. And none other than the Los Angeles Times of California, penned a letter to Karl Marx on his 200th birthday. And just one little excerpt from it because it would make you just shoot blood out of your eyes and everywhere.
But I like to do that to our audience.
Okay. Yes, Karl, after you died in 1883, people discovered your writings, and some promptly misused them. There are statues of you in capitals around the globe where governments expounded Marxism to deprive people of the very freedoms you extolled. They reinterpret your vision of the free development of each being, quote, the condition for the free development of all, as the freedom to be equally miserable. Indeed, the repression and butchery accomplished in your name during the last century would horrify you. And lastly, I hate to tell you, but the man now occupying Lincoln's house is your old capitalist friend, Mr. Moneybags.
That was a sentence that the author wrote?
Yeah, it was a quote part of it. And in this article it says, I know how much you admired Abraham Lincoln and all these. Like, this letter is literally propaganda trying to tell children. As a kid I ran into that went to Elder private Catholic school that says communism and capitalism ain't that far from each other, man.
No, they're completely incompatible. It's kind of like the problem with the settlers that came to the New World, living amongst the hunter-gatherer society of the Native American Indians, and so. It's just an incompatible thing, and socialism, capitalism, or I should say Marxism and capitalism just doesn't work.
Right. So the author writes, I remember how much you admired Abraham Lincoln and how you thought that brilliant son of the working class embodied everything good and great about the United States. Well, I hate to tell you, but the man now occupying Lincoln's house is your old capitalist friend, Mr. Moneybags. I recently reread your economic and philosophical manuscripts of 1844 and laughed because you described him to a T when you wrote about the wizardry of money, which can turn even a brute into a prince.
Okay.
I don't know what to say.
Well, here's the thing about Mr. Moneybags.
African men and women are still being sold, but it's called people trafficking.
What? What's he talking about?
That's what else happened in 200 years, people trafficking.
I mean, it's underground. It's illegal if it's happening, and I absolutely do not think it's exclusive to the African American community.
So this is Mary, and she ends her story with guns kill. So, dear Carl, as you celebrate your 200th birthday, there is hope. And it's great that you are still around to help us, if not in person, then through your work and your words. You inspire us still.
All right. So if you read...
Signed, Mary.
If you read Karl Marx's writings, you have to read it. You have to read it yourself and not read the Los Angeles Times horrible, dishonest interpretation of it. The guy was angry. You know what? You know how he described families? The mother and father enslave the children and exploit them for their labor. And because of that, the state should be in control of your children. He said that in the Communist Manifesto.
Oh, so Mary...
He argued, I just want to reiterate, he argued for the state to basically kidnap children from their families and raise them kind of like the Hitler Youth did, in order to prevent the exploitation. And he didn't just make it sound like, well, some parents exploit their children. No, he said that it's a necessary exploitation of children by their parents, that everybody does it because that is the relationship between the parents and the child, that the parents exploit the children for their labor. Totally mind-blowing.
It takes a village, Carrie.
Oh,
it takes a village. So Mary Gabriel is an author of Love and Capital, Karl and Jenny Marx, and the Birth of a Revolution. Her latest book, 9th Street Women, I guess those are women of the night, will be published by Little Brown in September. Okay, then there you go. So she actually loves Karl Marx and his whoever Jenny, I guess Jenny's his wife.
I would love to know what part of Karl Marx's words and literature was misinterpreted in order to kill hundreds of millions of innocent people over the past 150 years. Because that is what happened. Karl Marx is responsible for more death. Actually, it's a 1-2 punch. I'm not going to give Marx 100% credit. It was a 1-2 punch. The combination of Karl Marx and Charles Darwin coming at the same time with their works and people taking both of them. Isn't it kind of interesting that the Communist Manifesto and On the Origin of Species is embraced by the same people? It's not like some people are like, oh yeah, I like the Communist Manifesto, but forget that Origin of Species crap. No, it's always these are the two.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So of course we know Charles Darwin introduced us all to evolution by natural selection, and so what you have is people decided, you know what, if that's true, maybe we can create a super race of people, and we can get rid of all these inferior races. And
that's what Germany tried to do. They if you were mentally retarded, you had Down syndrome, you had some type of disease or something.
But not just Hitler. Hitler just decided we need to make this industrial.
Yeah,
we need to do this on a mass scale. But it happened big time. I truly believe that when you have like a Joseph Stalin killing as many millions of people as he did, that he believed that if I could just kill off the people who can't get their mind right about communism, then I will be
make it easier.
selecting them out. Because
because then they'll raise babies that believe.
Right, and the problem is that part of that's not the part that gets.
That don't work.
Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work. But there's a lot of that. I do believe that the mass killing that happened in the past 150 years on the scale in the hundreds of millions.
Right, hundreds of millions. Some claim up to about 200 million. We've gone through the list. Hitler technically is only credited for somewhere around 15 million.
But the one common thing is that it's all communists.
Mao Zedong.
Yep,
all of them.
Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, Stalin, Lenin, all of the above. They're all total communists. And you can thank. I mean, it's Karl Marx. Karl Marx wrote a book that led to the murder of over 100 million people.
Carrie, people misused his book. That's what Mary's saying. They misunderstood his works.
I'd love to hear her explain how that there was a misunderstanding that led to that. If not misunderstood, if it weren't for the fact that bad people misunderstood his writings, that somehow 100+ million people would have been saved over the past 150 years.
Well, she's saying that they misused it, and his vision of a democracy was never implemented correctly.
Whatever. They always say that. They all say that.
And she says, she makes the comment, she supports Black Lives Matter in other, and she didn't say it specifically, but she says, individuals have discovered their voices and strength that resides in their numbers. Black and white citizens have taken to the streets to denounce the murder of black men by police. Women join forces to expose sexual predators and the industries that not only enable them but profit from it. Tens of thousands of children have assumed the mantle of adults by acknowledging the truth. Their elders are too coward to express. Guns kill. Thank you, Carl.
Oh boy!
And
guns protect too.
I don't laugh at this in a laughing, joking manner. I laugh at this is that I'm still dumbfounded that there is such. Well, I'm dumbfounded that there's a whole movement called the flat earthers. I think it's people wanting attention.
I have lost a lot of faith in humanity over the flat earthers because I didn't even have to try very hard. I mean, I'm not a researcher. I'm not somebody who has been trained and even experienced in digging and finding truth with facts. But it took me 15, 20 minutes to figure out what the origin of the flat earth movement was. And the origin was a documentary created by somebody. I could look it all up again, but I started doing more and more research on this documentary, and I noticed that it came out, the very first posting on YouTube was like April 3rd of some odd years ago. And I was like, okay, but who did the person who posted this on YouTube, did he make it or did he find it somewhere and then post it, like download it like you do sometimes and then repost it or whatever?
Oh, no, I don't do that.
Used to.
Somebody told me how to do it, but I never
did it.
No.
Okay. You may have told somebody to try it.
Maybe.
Okay. So a friend of mine. So anyway, I wanted to figure out, well, who posted this and where did this really originate? So I finally found the original website of this flat Earth documentary, and the posting was April 1st of that year, and it was posted a couple days later on YouTube for the first time, and that's the one that has the most views and all that kind of stuff. What is April 1st?
Oh, April Fool's Day.
That's right. It was an April Fool's joke, and there are thousands and thousands of people who are dead serious about the plausibility of the flat Earth theory. It's an April Fool's joke, people.
Okay, so that's an April Fool's joke.
It took me 20 minutes.
This article on communism should be. It's only it's a whole month and 4 days away from it. It should be, but Folks, we've got to teach our children that this is not correct. Karl Marx was a bad dude. None of everything that he wrote led into communism.
When you read, one of the things that startled me the most about the Communist Manifesto is that it reads as if he was writing in an emotional rage. He was angry. He was going off on whoever it was he was talking about. It's an angry book. I mean, it makes sense when people study and embrace Marxism, why they're so irrationally angry, because they got that emotion reading that book. And that's why you see Antifa acting the way that they do, because they're in a emotional frenzy from that kind of teaching. So the guy's a bad dude. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So now, after we're over Karl Marx, push on. What did capitalism do this week? I'm just saying. It's a pretty good week. Donald Trump's week, this week, great week. Unemployment numbers are in. The unemployment and also participation rate is in. Donald Trump, lowest unemployment claims since 1973. That's a long time ago. Almost 45 years. The unemployment rate ticked down to 3.9%, which hasn't happened in a long time. The Korean War is over. Was it you that was telling me why China had to get in? Was it you that's talking about the volcano?
Oh, yeah, that was me. Yeah, so basically the North Koreans were testing their nuclear weapons, and they had some successful tests. And
you test them underground. We used to test them underground all the time.
Right, because when you do it above ground, you end up creating fallout, which you can't control where the fallout goes, and it could just be a major environmental issue. At least when you do it underground, you can control where all of the explosives and radioactive material go, and the cleanup's easier. So you do it underground.
Okay.
Well, it turns out they were doing it in a volcanic mountain that has now melted down and collapsed and causing a radiological disaster in the region, including a large piece of China. For those of you that don't know, the northern border of North Korea is China.
And that's why Donald Trump wanted China to put pressure on the peninsula that sticks out.
And they're allies. North Korea
jettisons out.
North Korea and China have been allies since the Cold War started, because they were both communists, and they were both part of the Soviet bloc of allies with each other, I guess. I guess allies might be the wrong word, because when you think of allies, you think of the United States and all of their friends. But so they've always had influence over them, because especially since they've been feeding them.
Yeah, they are absolutely to the end. They're at the end of the long pier. There ain't nothing left.
And
nothing.
I think that might explain why Kim Jong-un. Well, part of it is that their testing facility is now ruined. They'd have to start over from scratch. They'd have to build a whole new testing facility, and because they have caused an environmental disaster that includes parts of China.
So you're saying that this volcano could have an effect on China?
It actually already has, because China has done some readings.
Yeah.
Some, like in Ghostbusters.
The Geiger counter.
Oh, Geiger counter, yeah. And so
makes the same noise, though.
Okay. No, it's like a clicking. It's like a weird clicking sound. But anyway, they have discovered that there's a little bit of radiation that's beyond the safe levels.
A little bit of fallout.
And they're getting these readings in China, and China's like, hey, we have people here. The hell are you doing? And
we got nuclear bombs. We just ain't messing around. It's like a kid. It's like a kid that was given $10,000 worth of fireworks and told, don't light them all at once.
Or just do it safely. You can light these off, just do it safely.
Yeah. No, man. Could you imagine if we were 14 and given that barge of fireworks they set off for the EBN fireworks every year?
Yeah.
It's a 40-minute fireworks show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Off the barges on the river.
I'd light them all off.
And they say, here you go. do it one at a time. Don't get.
But now, aren't they with buttons? Actually, a lot of times you just hit one button that says start.
Don't hit the button. Oh, and it's like a domino effect.
Well, it's all computerized now.
Oh, right,
back in the day, it was all manual. Like you sit there with the lighter. No, back in the day, it was matches. You're like, you're trying to get the timing right, and you can't light the damn thing up. You're like, come on. So anyway, now it's like you press the start button, and the computer launches them all off over the course of the half hour. So it's not even as fun as it used to be.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but anyway.
So that's what's happening in North Korea. So North Korea coming to the table and say, okay, multiple things have happened and come apart. Dennis Rodman said that Kim Jong-un had a change of heart. Do you remember during the campaign when Dennis Rodman went to see Kim? Said he was going to bring basketball to him?
And we were all outraged, like, look at this guy. We have a travel ban to North Korea. Otto Warmbier was only able to get to North Korea because he traveled there from China. He was allowed to go to China,
right?
So he's visiting China. And while he was there, he found out he could take this tour. To North Korea. And he said, oh, that sounds like a cool idea.
I'm going to take it.
So he goes there. But the point is that he couldn't just go to North Korea from America or anything like that because there's a travel ban there.
Right.
So it's outrageous when you find out that a former NBA player is going there and hamming it up with the old dictator himself. And
right. He had a bar out in Newport in California on the beach and ran into some money problems. And coincidentally, the bar accidentally caught fire.
Oh, that's just a coincidence, though.
Yeah, nobody was hurt, but the bar went away. Anyway, so Dennis Rodman, apparently he said that Kim Jong-un had a change of heart after reading the book that he gave him as a gift.
Oh, was it Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins?
No.
Oh, no, not that one. Was it Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich?
Now, those would be two of probably the best books he should have read.
Okay.
But one even as good, Art of the Deal by Donald Trump.
Awesome. Okay.
I don't know how I know there's a picture of him giving the book to Kim's bodyguard. I don't know how true it is that he read it and had a change of heart, but that's what Dennis Rodman said. So North Korea coming to the table, Donald Trump ending the Korean War. Pretty much. I mean, we're at the very beginning stages, but if everything keeps going the way that they're going, this is going to be over.
They pretty much announced that the war's over. So that part's at least verbally
right, and Kim did pen, we talked about that last week, he did pen a letter of peace saying that that's what he wanted was peace.
And the thing you got to realize, too, is, how over is it really? He can't allow North Koreans to just have a travel ban, restriction, whatever, lifted and allow them to go back and forth between North and South because it would be a tsunami of humanity
coming this way,
going south. Right? Gravity would be very, very powerful there.
I hope and pray that somehow capitalists are involved to maybe take advantage of something in North Korea to help the economy to put it up. Cell phone towers and light posts or something?
Yeah, I would think that he'd be smart enough to, light posts.
No, if you look at the map of the world.
Is that a real map or somebody photoshopped that?
Look at Google it.
It's like an outline. It's a night. It's from the night side, the dark side of the earth, so you can see the lights from the cities.
Right.
And
there's an entire black spot in the middle
that is shaped exactly like North Korea. So the only lights that, they don't have electricity, according to this.
Well, I mean, if they have electricity, it's just way too expensive to turn it on at night. Not even the cities.
Right. Kind of like L.A. where they have brownouts all the time. And
they always got a brownout coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor L.A.
So I didn't know that was an issue. But Brian was living in a house that had some sort of electrical problem. Well, the lights would flicker, and you pointed out, you should see L.A. L.A. is like like you would get these flickers all the time, rolling flickers. Yeah. I remember all the news that came out where if you weren't even allowed to put Christmas lights up.
No, and they definitely say that you're not allowed to cut your grass in the middle of the day, and don't fuel your car up in the middle of the day.
I don't get that.
And
I don't know.
And Oh, turn your air conditioner off and don't use it minimally. Okay, I'm going to tell you.
Hot there?
I'm going to tell you right now, folks. I work from some big companies.
Mm-hmm.
They don't never turn the lights out. They don't never turn off the machinery. They don't never turn off the AC. They got the money to pay for it, and they're getting it. So why do big corporations get it, and Big Brother telling us to not get it?
Well, you just gave the answer right there. They can afford to do it. I mean, I think that the free market should dictate these things. If you want people to not use so much electricity, you make it more and more and more expensive until all of a sudden people are like, I'm going to go ahead and turn these lights off. Or maybe during Christmas time, you know what, this year, I think I'm not going to put lights up because, man, it's killing us.
What about fueling your vehicle up in the middle of the afternoon?
Some people who are more knowledgeable about that subject than myself is going to have to explain to me why fueling up after 4 p.m. or whatever the stupid restriction is somehow worse for the environment. Like, what if I fuel up at 8 a.m.? I mean, why is that better?
If I fuel up and it's 60 degrees out versus I fuel up and it's 100 degrees out.
I mean, I could take a guess. I mean, I would guess that gasoline.
More fumes?
Well, gasoline tends to evaporate very, very quickly.
Right.
And it would evaporate even more quickly exposed to air in 100 degrees than it would in 60 degrees. So it would make sense if that's what their rationale is, but I don't know.
But I got the hose down in the tank. I'm not spraying it all over the car.
It's like I'm washing the car with it or something.
I'm putting it in the car.
Right. It's not exposed to air, so you're right. You're 100% right. Doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense.
And nobody adheres to it because you see people fueling up all. If you got to get gas, you got to get gas.
If you're empty and it's 4 p.m. and you got to go somewhere, guess what? You're stopping, getting gas.
Yeah. So
what about mowing your lawn after 4?
Oh, yeah, you have to mow it after 4. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was don't mow it after 4.
No. Do not do it in the middle of the day.
That doesn't make any
sense. And don't water your grass in the middle of the day either.
Well, there's actually some truth to that. You want to water in the middle of the night because
it's actually better for your grass.
Well, it actually gets to the soil. A lot of times if you spray it out onto the grass in the middle of the day with the sun blaring, you're going to lose like 60% of it to evaporation as opposed to it getting into the soil. But anyway, that's my lesson.
They do that a lot in L.A., especially South Central L.A. The Hispanic community, the ladies come out in 10, 11 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning, and they turn the garden hose on to wash the steps and the.
Speaking of which,
they don't use a broom. They don't sweep it, but they hose it down every day.
I have to tell on your daughter.
Every day. I don't get that.
I had to run into the studio from the vehicle today before the show.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was pouring down rain.
Okay.
And your daughter goes out and waters a bush. And I was like, this never gets water.
It's under the overhang.
Pouring down.
It's under the overhang.
Is it that why? Because it looked like it was getting rained on.
I got a 100-year-old house. The overhangs are 100-foot wide.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, largest, and this by Charlie Kirk tweeted this out, bullet point by bullet point. Largest tax cut in U.S. history. ISIS destroyed 6.6% black unemployment, which is even lower than the lowest ever. Trillions of dollars coming back to America. Most dramatic deregulation in history. And what? Pray tell. Bill Kristol.
Which one?
What are you resisting?
Billy Crystal?
Billy Crystal. What are you resisting?
What is he resisting?
They're all still resisting Trump. They're saying Trump's going to destroy America.
What are they hoping here? Are they They have to be hoping. If you're opposing Trump at this point, now you're just trying to salvage the belief amongst your viewers and listeners and fans that you're dead wrong. That's all you're doing. You're trying to salvage the fact that you're wrong. Like, ooh, do I really have to admit that I'm dead wrong? And so now you're just opposing him and trying to sabotage him on the come. Which is that at some future date, you'll end up being right. Kind of like Joe Walsh, I noticed that you got right.
Yeah, do you remember that name? Oh, Joey. What did
Which is Walsh Freedom, at Walsh Freedom. He is
It is not the guitar player, not the famous Joe Walsh guitar, but no, it's not that guy.
Joe Walsh from one of those cop shows.
Is it really? No.
Yeah.
This is
Unsolved Mysteries, or no, that was Robert Stack.
Yeah.
Joe Walsh is from a cop show.
But it's not this. It is the same guy?
Yeah. He's what's the name of that show? I wonder if somebody will tell us in the comments section. Joe Walsh was on a very popular show that was like Unsolved Mysteries, but it was specific to police investigations. So anyway.
Okay.
But he had his child, young child, was kidnapped and murdered.
Right.
And he became a cop because of that.
I think there's a different guy.
I think that's the guy.
Okay.
I think that's the guy.
So he tweets out, here's the truth. Because the American people were so damn fed up with the dishonest, corrupt, elitist political class, they sent the most dishonest a-hole they could find to D.C. to blow it all up. That would be Trump. That was his tweet. And then he tweets out later on, the guy's bipolar. The never-Trumpers who can't acknowledge the good things Trump has done are every bit as partisan and blind as the Trump supporters who can't acknowledge that Trump I didn't finish it. No, he isn't bipolar. He's still polar. Trump supporters who can't acknowledge that Trump lies way too much.
Every time he accused Trump of lying, and I didn't get this one because I didn't see it, I say, give me an example. These people, these never-Trumpers who say Trump lies, Trump lies, Trump lies, Trump lies, I never see an example. And if they ever dare try to say, well, he said this, Trump said this, and we know that this is a lie. This is not a fact. It's not a lie. It's either fake news or it's an incorrect statement being labeled a lie. And being incorrect is not lying. That would be like saying if you don't get 100% on a test that you lied on that one question you got wrong. Why'd you lie? You said the square root of 9 is 2. We know the square root of
6.
We know that the square root of 9 is 3. Since you got that wrong and you said something other than 3, you're a liar.
Liar. Why you lie?
Liar.
Like, I lied earlier this week. Did you hear about that?
Uh-oh, what happened?
Remember that the White House Correspondents' Dinner? The woman, Wolf? Comedian.
Michelle Wolf? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently somebody sent me an article. It said she was arrested in her hometown of Hershey, Pennsylvania for bestiality.
Right. Turns out that was...
She pleaded guilty because they caught her in the act, and she had all kinds of stuff. And she pleaded guilty and paid tens of thousands of dollars of fines.
I thought it was $1,100, but fake news is going to have variations.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And so one of our great listeners gave me a heads up and
said it was fake.
Said the article that was written with the headline of that newspaper came out and said, "No, man, we didn't write that. That wasn't ours." And if you look at the date. It says June 10th, 2015, Sunday edition. That was actually a Friday if you look at your calendar. So, a little bit of fake news everywhere, folks. But I didn't lie. I just reported an article somebody gave me. And I came out and I said, hey, my bad. Anyhow, so since we're talking about communism, Joe Walsh and liars, this just tweeted out by James Woods. You're looking at a picture of beautiful Seattle.
Oh, I was thinking L.A.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to show it, because this is what socialism, this is what communism, this is what breeds. It's a tent with trash and garbage laying everywhere. You can find that all over Los Angeles.
It's a nice tent.
Under the... Well, they give them out. If you get to the right places, you can get freebies from the government. Because you're living outside, you need something to...
That's a Coleman. It's a Coleman.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so you've got these tent cities all over Los Angeles, this liberal, lunatic city. People are living under bridges. They've got whole towns, whole areas. and police are not allowed to do anything about it. So there you go, socialism. Karl Marx, 200 years later. Got you, Carl. Doing great, man. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you, Carl. You were right. You were right. People are going to have freedom in the tents.
Freedom to choose as they will.
Oh.
So as we're talking about Donald Trump, real quick. We were talking about how good the economy was going here in a capitalist society, democracy. New York Post, which is the good one, right? I keep getting a New York Post, New York slime.
They're better than bad.
Okay, better than bad. New York Post Michael Goodwin wrote an article. He said, during a dinner, a liberal friend. Okay, see, that's a problem right now. He's got a liberal friend having dinner.
That's an oxymoron.
Yeah. Gave me a shock.
Where's the love, Brian?
I know. It gave me a shock. Quote, "Hey, I didn't vote for Trump." Shh, she said.
Okay.
But I have to admit, I like that our country is on top again.
So here's
I'm proud that we're the most powerful country and that others respect our power. And he said back to her, "Hear, hear, I'll drink to that."
So here's somebody who did not vote for Trump. And we know that Trump won in an electoral landslide.
Yep.
He won states that we didn't even think were in play for Trump. Lots of them. Pennsylvania was a pipe dream. Like, we knew that it was always going to be in play.
Oh, Philly.
Yeah, there's so much. But here's the point. Here's a woman who admittedly did not vote for Trump, who I venture to guess is a likely candidate to switch over
2020
to vote for him in 2020.
Wait, the old saying, you don't switch horse in midstream. There's something to that. People
I thought it was you don't cross the streams. No?
Never cross the streams.
Okay. All right. So that is true. Don't cross the streams.
No, it's true if you're in a stream on a horse.
Okay.
Don't get off that horse to get a different horse.
In midstream.
Yeah.
Because you get wet.
Stay on that horse.
Right.
You might fall off.
Okay.
But when it comes to Trump 2020, people are going to see the writing on the wall, folks. They're going to say, wow, you know what? This ain't too bad. Things are going well. Let's stay with what we got. Don't rock the boat. I can see that.
That's anecdotal, but I mean, I feel like I've run into some people that are like that. They were big-time Obama supporters, and they're coming out. I mean, how much? What's percentage of black voters voted for Trump in 2016? And because of the Kanye effect, how many of them are going to vote for Trump in 2020? I mean, we're going to see a lot of that. We see this all the time where people are saying, wow, I have to admit. Does it?
If you're an American and you happen to be black and you happen to be unemployed for the last 8 years, you happen to have, whether it be welfare or no welfare, whatever the case may be, have hard times. Now you've got unemployment in that community at a 6.6% rate, which is the lowest ever. I ran into two black guys that were talking at the market, and they were just talking to each other. They were talking about his new job. The other guy was talking about his new job, and I can only assume that that's because of this. And Donald Trump putting hard measures into play, saying that if you're going to be on welfare, you got to prove this, and this. You've got to actively look for a job. You've got to be off of it. I mean, there's none of this 99 weeks of unemployment. 99.
That was a joke.
2 years of unemployment, folks. Almost just shy of 2 years of unemployment.
Oh, that's such a joke.
And we all laughed at it. Folks. And it's not right. So now that that's no longer in play, more people are actively getting into the market. CNN did an article that said, "Oh, what does this mean? We think the job market is bottomed out. It can no longer get. We're going to have a backlash. There's going to be problems, folks. It never goes well from here." I'm serious.
They're like trying to figure out what is the negative that we can write about.
Fed's are going to raise rates, and you know what? Inflation's through the roof, guys.
Yeah, it's like looking for that black cloud somewhere in that ginormous silver lining. We're going to find it somewhere.
So 6 points real quick that he makes in this article. It's a really good article, but 6 points that he makes to his friend while they're having this conversation. Number one, no rational American can oppose North Korea tentative promise to give up nuclear weapons. That seems credible. I mean, if you're a reasonable person, you're looking and say, wow, Trump did that? Huh. Okay.
Okay.
The fact that Trump's threat to withdraw from the Iran deal, France even said it's flawed.
Interesting.
And we know that there are piles of cash dumped on them by Obama.
Pallets and pallets. C-130s, multiple C-130s dropping off the big parachute drop.
Unmarked bills and different currencies. And the reason why this was to be, Obama said that they can't cash checks because of the sanctions that are on them.
This is so treasonous.
And apparently this week I overheard John Kerry was headed to Iran to advise the leaders about Trump.
John Kerry. The guy that threw his medals over the gate at the White House.
Right. So we're talking about liberals, and we're talking about this woman who did not vote for Trump, so I'm assuming she voted for Hillary, changing her mind. And in this article he says about these things that you can't, a common everyday person couldn't disagree with, like groundbreaking agreement of Arab countries to work with America and Israel to curb aggression.
Iran's aggression specifically.
Or Iran's aggression, sorry. I mean, you can't argue with that. That sounds like a good thing, right?
Sounds good to me.
China, Japan, South Korea are willing to revise their trade deals with America.
That's really cool because when it comes down to negotiations,
yes,
we got Trump in our corner. We're going to definitely get the best possible situation, without a doubt.
So those tariffs that Trump threw out there that freaked everybody out and everybody lost their minds on the left actually woke those countries up to say, whoa. Okay, Trump, don't go full board. Come on, man. Come to the table with us. We'll talk. Mercy, we'll talk. American exceptionalism never went out of fashion, but its light dimmed during the Obama reign. Obama shrinking the military and his apology tours. You guys remember that?
Oh, yeah. That was the first thing he did.
Yep.
As soon as he got into office, he went, well, it wasn't the very, very first thing he did, but his first trip outside of America was the apology tour. He went all over Europe, and in a couple places he was received very welcomely. I think it was maybe Germany, where he had his huge welcome parade, and he went out there and said, we suck, America sucks, we have been bad to you because we're evil people, but we're not anymore because they were nice enough to elect me, and I'm going to bow down to you guys and repay you for all of our bad deeds. And they're all like, well, we weren't thinking that, but if you want to offer that up, okay. Literally.
Egypt says, okay, Muslim Brotherhood, we'll take that over. Muslim Brotherhood takes over. They say we need F-16s at the yin-yang, and he goes ahead, just sends them F-16s.
He gives ISIS or the Muslim Brotherhood their Air Force.
Yeah, unbelievable. And the last couple sentences of this article, he says, but the potential upside is enormous. An historical accord to rid the Korean Peninsula of nukes without a shot being fired. And if the Nobel Peace Prize followed, well, just imagine the sound of exploding heads among the declinists. That would be exceptionally sweet. The guy writes a pretty good article, and he backs it up with fact.
Yeah, there's a couple things about the Nobel Peace Prize that I'd like to point out. Number one, it's been so thoroughly discredited.
Flaw.
I almost feel like I hope he doesn't get it, because if he does get it, it would add some legitimacy to the things that have delegitimized it.
Well, Rudy Giuliani said, I can't wait till you win the Nobel Peace Prize, Trump, and throw it back in their face.
Throw it over their gate.
Throw it over their gate.
Like John Kerry did of his Vietnam medals.
Right. And Donald Trump said the real prize, tweeted out, the real prize, folks, is peace.
Right. It's not the medal.
And that's a real leader. A real leader doesn't care who gets the credit for it. It's the fact that it's done. Obama needed credit daily.
And you probably
by the hour he needed credit.
You probably don't have the video on cue, but you don't need it. But they started chanting Nobel, Nobel,
right,
Nobel.
Right.
And what did Trump say? Trump was like, "Thank you. I'm just looking for a solution."
Right.
Just want a solution.
We talk about leadership and leaders all the time, folks, and I'm telling you, the biggest thing that I took away from Ronald Reagan was that he didn't care who got credit for it as long as it got done. That's why so much got done. Donald Trump is cut from the same cloth. There is no doubt in my mind.
Right.
He's
That's
cut
why
from the
it
same
makes
cloth.
the criticism of him since he's taken office that much more nasty looking. It just makes you look like a bad person when you're criticizing somebody who's just trying to get these big things done that are going to make the world a better place, make it a place for more liberty and freedom for people even outside the United States, which of course ends up making America safer and American people safer. And he just wants to get these problems solved that have never been able to be solved by any previous leaders. And he's not going to take credit. And to sit there and try to nitpick every little thing in order to get him defeated in 2020 or just to get him somehow impeached thanks to the Mueller investigation. You guys look like pure evil.
If they did if the Democrats took the House and they actually did impeachment proceedings, I don't think they'd have enough to. There are Democrats who won't do this.
Right.
There are Democrats that say this looks dumb.
Right. And I've actually already kind of did the thought experiment, if you will. There were people like Rush. Here's my criticism of Rush, and he's not the only one. He says you don't need a crime. This isn't even a criminal proceeding. This is a political proceeding. They can do it for no reason. They can just impeach the president. And the very first thing out of my mouth was, no, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. I guess in theory world, you could make the argument, yeah, well, in theory, you get all these congressmen together and they all collude together to impeach the president, and then they send it over to the Senate and they convict him and have him thrown out of office. In theory, I guess that could happen, but this never works in practice, and I knew it as soon as Rush pointed out it's going to happen because they can, and you don't need a crime because it's not even a criminal proceeding, so they will do it. I said, no, it's not going to happen. He said it's a political thing. It's a political thing. Well, what do we know about politics? Politicians only do things whether it's going to help them politically or not. And what does it mean to help you politically? What it means to help you politically is, are you going to get support of voters more so or less so?
Right.
That's what politics is. And there's no way Americans are going to accept the impeachment of their duly elected president on no other grounds than, well, you know what, we just feel like the other person should have won in the last election. That's not going to work.
No, it never works.
There's no way. And I knew instantly when people started floating the idea of impeachment without high crimes and misdemeanors. People respect the Constitution. A vast majority of people, both on the left and the right, respect the Constitution enough that they're not going to accept impeachment without high crimes and misdemeanors because it's written in the Constitution.
I mean, they almost didn't want to accept the fact that Bill Clinton lied on the stand. They didn't want that. And even a Republican stopped halfway. They impeached, but they didn't proceed to remove him from office.
And here's why that didn't work politically. Even though it's true he did lie to Congress, and it's true that is a high crime and misdemeanor that would allow you to impeach him. The reason it didn't end up working long term is because people didn't see the crime in cheating on your wife in the Oval Office. And that's where they went. They said, let's point out to him that he's cheating on his wife with his intern. Let's get him to tell us under oath that it didn't happen. And then let's show that he lied by presenting the dress. That's literally what happened.
Right.
And the public decided that, you know what, sure, you shouldn't lie to Congress, and sure, it should be a felony to lie to Congress, and you should be in trouble. But to entrap him by making him answer a very embarrassing question. Look, people cheat, and it's bad, and it's a sin, and you need to repent, and you should not do that to your wife. It's actually one of the 10 Commandments, and all this kind of stuff. And
it's unfortunate that went down that road,
right?
Because it was about was about Whitewater originally.
Right. And so they ended up going down this road.
There's the crime right there.
Right.
That is truly a crime.
But because they decided to get him impeached on a lie to Congress, which is true, he did lie to Congress, which is a felony and all this kind of stuff, and it should be, and you shouldn't lie to Congress. But to do so by asking him a really embarrassing question that wasn't a crime. It's not a crime to cheat on your wife. And it's extremely highly immoral to do so, but you shouldn't be going after somebody criminally because they did something immoral. It's just as simple as that.
Right.
So anyway.
So the witch hunt that is the Mueller investigation.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about that.
Is kind of run into a little bit of a snafu this week.
A bridge abutment. If we were pushing for this to happen, we would be crying right now.
Oh, absolutely. So 40 questions were leaked about what the Mueller team would probably ask Trump if they could put him, they could depose him, they could get him to I don't know, testify under oath or whatever the case may be. And we all know that don't end well. I don't care how honest the day is long with Trump. I don't care I don't care. The questions that were leaked were all, how do you feel? What do you think? What is in your mind?
What were you thinking? Like, how did it make you feel to tell Comey that he's out of here? Did that send a tingle up your leg?
Mr. Trump, I know how you feel because I felt the same way. But here's what I found.
Oh, wow.
You got to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Now, where were you the night of April 5th?
Did you see that there was I don't know if it was a documentary or just a show. It was probably a little show where they were going to discredit the lie detector test.
Oh, wow.
And they took this girl, and I thought she was a high school student. And she may have been she was very, very, very young. And this is how they discredited the lie detector test. They said, all right, we're going to ask you some questions, and then just to kind of get a baseline, and then we're going to ask you some questions to just see whether or not you're lying.
Right, okay.
And so they asked some simple baseline questions such as, okay, how old are you? And is it true that you're 14 years old or whatever? And then he says, all right, now I'm going to ask you a very, very personal question that could be embarrassing. And she goes, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, when was the last time you... And silence. He never finished it. That was it. And the response on the thing was that she lied.
Said she was through the roof. Because in her mind, she was lying.
She didn't even answer the question.
In her mind, she was getting ready to lie.
But the machine said that she lied.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Yeah. He actually said, I'm going to ask you something really
very
potentially embarrassing, very personal.
Yeah.
When is the last time, and he said it really slow too, when is the last time you, and then he just stopped. And she was like,
human nature is a funny thing, folks.
Yeah,
human nature.
So that's what they're going to do to Donald Trump.
That's what they're attempting to do. But
could you imagine?
What do you think about these questions that were leaked? What is the purpose for leaking these?
Well, it's clear to me, and of course, ad nauseum, all the different pundits over the course of the
conservative people destroyed it.
Right. It's been described as amateur hour for like a failing attorney student, law student.
Yes.
So I definitely agree with that. I don't think that there's any questions as that look, when people have complimented me on my ability to give a great interview, to be a good interviewer to somebody that comes on the show or whatnot. And one thing I could tell you is none of these questions seem like they were getting at any kind of an answer that was critical that they needed. Like, did a crime occur? It wasn't getting to that. It wasn't getting any answers. I mean, just looking at the questions, I'm like, but what are they looking for here? What's the end game? What is their point? What is the point of this?
So Kat in Arizona said that the questions were horrible traps.
Right, and I was going to get to that. So then when I started, and I didn't even have to analyze this. I just had to listen to other people who had analyzed it, and I agree wholeheartedly with them, which is that they were just trying to get them on process crimes. Sean Hannity said that several times this week. This is just entrapment for process crimes, and it's so. Here's the thing that's sad about it. It's so pathetically obvious that that's what they're doing.
Oh, that's what Rudy Giuliani said to Sean Hannity, and Kat put that up there too. Thank you, Kat, for being on the show. Those questions were to get Donald Trump to start talking, rambling, and possibly saying something that he didn't mean to say. Just rambling questions. Just nonsense. Just keep talking. Keep him talking, and hopefully we can trap him with something sooner or later. That's pretty much what they were. And so Louis Gohmert, our politician out in Texas, all-American patriot, Louis came up with 40 questions of his own, Carrie.
Awesome.
LifeZet.com. LifeZet.
Oh, my gosh. I can't wait to hear these.
I've just got the time. I just took 5.
Okay.
I mean, it could go. They're all hysterical.
Oh, we would spend probably 45 minutes.
They're unbelievable questions. But and if you follow us on Twitter, you will see that I retweeted that out. So go to Twitter, go to Brian P. Smith, or follow Carrie at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio.
Okay.
So the first question Louis had for Mueller was, why are all your lawyers DNC donors?
How did that make you feel?
How does that make you feel that I'm asking you the question? That all the lawyers that you've hired are DNC donors getting paid hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars. Endless. They've got an endless budget. And they're refusing to turn over. This was by Tom Fitton. This was months ago. Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch. He said they're fighting us on showing us the budget for the Mueller investigation. They will not show. They haven't shown it yet. Do you imagine? I mean, imagine. Whew. Anyway, second question. Peter Strzok was removed only after 10,000 text messages were found between him and Lisa Page. Why did it take so long? That was a question.
Was he removed? I mean, I feel like he wasn't removed.
Oh, he was removed from the Mueller investigation to put somewhere else.
Okay, because they never get fired.
He still has his job, but the breaking news of the weekend was Lisa Page resigned from her post.
Okay.
Lisa Page resigned. Breaking news. Anyway, so question number 3. Andrew Weissman tied to the Clinton election night in New York City and a $145 million donor to the Clintons. Why is Andrew Weissman so tied in the Clintons, and he's part of this team you have?
That kind of mirrors the first question. Why are all your lawyers DNC donors?
Yeah, this one had actually
more specific.
Yeah, this one set the party up for Hillary Clinton. Remember, days before the election, we will have fireworks to celebrate. We've got it all set up.
Okay.
Huge fireworks production.
Gosh.
And so Andrew Weissman had that set up. Question number 4. What efforts have you undertaken to identify the leakers in your camp?
I think that he's the leaker.
Well, might be.
That's the key right there, right?
Yep.
Well, I haven't taken any steps to identify leakers because I know who the leaker is.
Right.
If it's not him personally, he knows who did it. It's all part of the whole plan.
Yeah. So last question out of 40. I'm just going through 5 of them. Mr. Mueller, were you aware at any point in time that the judge, Rudolph Contreras, that signed off on the FISA warrant, were you in any capacity, in any knowledge, have the understanding that this judge, Contreras, who accepted General Flynn's guilty plea, also served on the FISA court and had a very personal relationship with Peter Strzok. So personal that Peter met that judge at his house to get the FISA warrant signed, because the judge said, "Yeah, don't do it in chambers, man. This might not look right.
Oh,
you come to the crib. I'm having a party.
How do we
Nobody
even know
will
about this? This sounds like something that they wouldn't even know, that this would have been kept under wraps.
You would think.
Wow.
So General Flynn, we're now under the impression right now, General Flynn did not lie. Even Comey said that I don't believe that General Flynn lied at all. And now we're finding out that that the people who said that Flynn lied were the ones who actually lied about Flynn. So Flynn needs to pull out the guilty plea and walk away from this. 100%. Flynn didn't lie about anything. Political Short. If you don't follow him, a good one to follow. Political Short.
At Political Short?
Yep,
okay.
At Political Short. Tweeted out, Mueller has no worries about how to pay for his legal team. We pay for it. The American citizens.
Right.
Not only is Mueller personally unaffected by the exorbitant cost for his probe, the Justice Department will not release the budget.
Yeah, because it's costing taxpayers millions and millions and millions of dollars.
I can't even. I can't even. I don't even want to fathom that.
Oh gosh!
And a good friend of the show, Laura Loomer tweeted out: President Trump's former lawyer Joe DeGeneva says Trump won't be sitting down for an interview with Special Counsel Robert Mueller because, quote, this investigation has reached a level of bad faith.
I love that. That is, and it's perfectly timed. I'd been thinking about it for at least a week now. Like, he shouldn't be sitting down for an interview with Robert Mueller. In fact, that was the big hubbub about Rudy Giuliani this week.
Yes,
that he was basically saying, well, it'll only take about a couple minutes. Just sit down with Robert Mueller. I'm gonna probably. He didn't say this. I'm paraphrasing what people were thinking he was saying, which was a recommendation that Trump actually sit down with Mueller and have this. It totally triggered Sean Hannity, who was like, Mr. President, I urge you, I implore you, do not sit down with Mueller. And all these people were mirroring and echoing what Sean Hannity was saying, and rightfully so. I agreed with all that. And I was kind of like, what is Rudy Giuliani thinking? And it was really just a setup for the eventual, we're not going to sit down because we've decided that this has become bad faith.
Reached levels of bad faith.
And translation, that this is not what they are leading or misleading you to believe.
Right. And if you follow our scopes or you follow some of the things going on this week, you know that late in the week, I don't know if it was Friday. I think it was Friday.
This was the big news of the week right here.
This was breaking news
big
Friday.
News. Biggest news of the whole week, in my opinion.
I 100% agree. Matter of fact, I emailed Carrie Friday notes.
And I was like...
And then I re-emailed later on and said, critical update to Friday notes.
Big news.
Judge Ellis, who was overhearing the Manafort case, presented with Mueller team versus Manafort, and Judge Ellis, a Ronald Reagan appointee, so I can only have good faith that the guy's got to be okay, got to be...
Well, at least we know he's not a full-blown Marxist.
Right. I mean, who was it? Was it Bush who appointed Kennedy? What was the one?
I could look it up, but I'm not 100% sure.
Somebody appointed one of the judges that swayed with Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the other ones.
Bader Ginsburg.
So you can't always tell, but this judge was looking at the whole case that the Manafort or that Mueller was laying out against Manafort, and they're saying that the charges against Manafort that were filed: conspiracy against the United States, conspiring to launder money, failing to register as an agent of a foreign principal, and providing false statements. And so now the judge is looking over this, and the judge said to Manafort's team, you really don't care. I'm sorry, to Mueller's team. You really don't care about Mr. Manafort. You really don't care about what information Mr. Manafort can give you to lead you to Mr. Trump and an impeachment. Or that's what you do care about, the impeachment or whatever. Further, Ellis demanded to see the unredacted scope memo. The scope memo is the memo given to Mueller by Rosenstein, who, this is a joke that even Rosenstein, Mueller and Rosenstein, they're one and the same. They're all part of that deep state stuff. They're all dirty rats.
Right.
And so Rosenstein gives to Mueller the scope, and this entails what you're going to go look for in the Russian collusion investigation. This is the scope of your work. That's what you're going to go do. And it's a document outlining the scope of the special counsel's Russia investigation. So the Manafort or the Mueller team said, there's a lot of top classified stuff in there that, it's real classified stuff.
It's
so,
real classified.
Yeah,
real classified.
And the judge said, I'll be the judge of that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And at one point in time, actually the title of the article said, CMON, man, which, come on, man.
Oh.
the judge said to the Mueller team, come on, man. What do we talk? We talk about practice.
Oh, I was listening to that song this week. We should play that.
I know I'm supposed to be a franchise player. We talk about practice. So the judge then said, asked the Mueller's team where they got the authority to indict Manafort on alleged crimes dating so far back as 2005. And they said it was in the scope, but it is a top secret, super secret part of the scope. So secret that it was given to us verbally.
Okay. Because they wouldn't want it written down. It might get
no.
into the wrong hands.
You don't know, man. The judge also gave the government 2 weeks to hand over the unredacted scope memo or provide an explanation as to why not, after prosecutors were reluctant to do so, claiming it had material that doesn't pertain to Manafort. And that's when the judge said, I'll be the judge of that.
Oh, wow.
The charges filed earlier this year, then I said conspiring, and launder money, failing to register, just these things that have nothing to do with the case. They just want to drag somebody down. I think they originally got a hold of Flynn on a lie and originally got a hold of Manafort on maybe on some real stuff. But to give the illusion that this is real and we're taking people down around Trump, it's already begun. And for some reason, the whole thing's... Do you think they really thought that they were going to have some kind of impeachment by now? Or some kind of overthrow of the government by now?
No, I do.
Really?
I think that they believe they could overthrow the government. I think that early on they thought, oh gosh, we are really in dire straits here, but we have to do something to avoid going to prison. And here's the biggest mistake they made. They couldn't play it cool. Have you ever gotten out of trouble by just playing it cool? I mean, big trouble.
No, man, not me.
I've known somebody.
I'm not under oath.
I knew somebody that a friend of mine.
A friend of yours, yeah? Good friend, huh?
That ended up getting out of big trouble by just playing it cool. Just act innocent, and you're good to go. Play it cool. And that's where they blew it. See, what they should have done, what the deep state who was involved, I'm talking about the Obama deep state, who while Obama was president were engaging in all kinds of highly unconstitutional, illegal activity against the people of the United States. They had made the determination that if Trump were to win, that this would all be exposed and they would all go to prison.
Right.
And so they fought very hard to make sure that Clinton won. In the process of fighting for Clinton's victory, they were also breaking rules. But that's okay. It's like, hey, we already broke rules. The baby's out with the bathwater. We need to go all in now.
We broke rules that ain't never been broken and will never be broken again.
We're making new rules to break.
Right.
So they were doing this, and then they decided we need to go all in on the lawlessness to make sure that Clinton wins. We knew they couldn't drag that carcass across the finish line.
What did he say? Dinesh D'Souza said, and they couldn't even drag that crooked hag across the finish line.
Okay. All right. So they failed to do that. And then they decided, well, we're probably all going to go to jail now unless this can somehow be covered up. Can we cover it up? And they said, no. The cover up is even going to be worse than the crimes, plural. So what can we do? I know. Let's continue to do something similar to what we were doing while Trump was campaigning, but we'll do it while he's president. We'll keep it firewalled off from him completely. We'll get our friends in Congress, the Democrats in Congress, to help create the illusion.
Peter Schiff.
Yeah, that the executive branch and the Department of Justice are two different branches that are separated by separation of powers, which is not true at all. So they've created this complete mythical facade that the Department of Justice is its own branch of government that the president cannot touch. And if he were to try to overstep that bounds, then that would be immediate impeachment. But in the meantime, while we have this secret room called the Department of Justice to do all of our dirty work in, we're going to concoct a coup d'etat that's going to eventually enable us to get rid of Trump completely with Pence in power as the president, as the person who would take over. He'll work with us. He's part of an establishment that we'll take him into the back room and we'll say, hey, listen, you know how this has worked all the way up until now.
You know what we did before.
We're going back to business. I got a question for you, Mr. Pence. President Pence. I have a question for you.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Will you play ball?
Damn it, boys.
Will you play ball? That's going to be the question. And you know that they already know the answer to that question. They know the answer already.
Right.
Can we trust in you to play ball with us, President Pence? And he'll say, well, I saw what you did to President Trump, which, of course, I signed off on. This is why I helped you get rid of Flynn.
Right.
I helped you guys. Just don't do to me what you did to Trump, and we're all good. And that's what will happen.
Man.
But here's the mistake they made. The mistake they made was this is highly high risk, really high risk. They could all end up going to prison for even more and get in more trouble for all the additional illegal activities that they've done. The mistake they made is they could have just acted like this never happened. And Trump may not even look into it. But let's just say something comes across his desk and he's like, what? This actually happened? And maybe do a little internal investigation, realize, well, it looks like they stopped it now that Obama. They could even bring some of these people into his office and say, Mr. President Trump, listen, when I was working under Obama, we were expected to do things that, it's the president. Obama was a corrupt, illegal person.
I had to do it.
Had to do it. Now that you're president, we are so happy that we do not have to do this anymore. No. Wouldn't that have worked?
Yeah.
I think that would have worked. I think Trump would have said, oh, my gosh, I cannot believe this is actually happening. But you're telling me that you didn't want to do it, and now you're happy that I'm here because now you don't have to do it anymore. I'll tell you what, why don't you guys just act like this never happened, and we're going to go on, and we're going to be legal. We're going to be – I honestly think it would have worked.
But they hate him so much. They never would have – the coup d'etat would have never been finished.
They may hate him, but I think a lot of that hatred is not real. It's necessary in order to avoid their own prison sentence.
Right. So I saw you had pulled up there from Sean Davis.
This is critical. So Brian was just talking about these redacted, things that need to stay secret from the FISA judges and from the Judge Ellis.
Right.
Who is seeing all this, and he wants to see stuff that they're not letting him see. Well, Sean Davis, who is at Sean M. DAV, SEANMDAV, His first tweet was, the most recent unclassified version of the House Intel Committee's report exposes how the DOJ and FBI improperly use redactions to protect people like James Comey and from public scrutiny. The before-after version show what dirty pool DOJ, FBI are playing. Examples forthcoming. So then he responds to his own tweet with the example. So
man.
So he basically a heavily redacted Intel Committee report came out, and everybody's like, "Why is this so heavily redacted?" Well, why would you think that something would be redacted? It has secrets.
It would expose these.
Well, no. I mean, why?
It would expose the super secrets we're trying to keep.
Right, and what would those super secrets be? It could
people's
be
names.
It could be that. It could be
locations,
operations that we don't want other countries to find out about.
Fast and Furious, things like that.
Well, let's just say legitimate. Let's say we do an operation against some country, Russia or whatever. We want to redact so they don't find out about whatever. Turns out, Sean Davis replied to himself with attachments. Compare the fully redacted version that came out last week to the mostly unredacted version that came out today. And this was May the 4th, so 2 days ago. And he has two attachments. One is the original House Intel Committee report with black lines on it like crazy.
So like
whole paragraphs.
Yeah, whole paragraph sections blacked out, yeah.
And then he compared that to the exact same report that came out on May the 4th with mostly unredacted. So it's the exact same report, just unredacted. Do you see what the DOJ/FBI tried to cover up? McCabe said they hadn't substantiated anything against Flynn, and the ambush of Flynn at the White House was directed by Comey. That was what they redacted. So these are not secrets that need to be protected because it's of national security interest. They are literally keeping secret the thing that exposes their corruption.
So CYA is not a redact. You don't redact a CYA.
We have to keep this totally redacted because if anybody finds this out,
we're going to prison.
Yeah, that's what they were. That's what they were keeping classified.
So, and I don't know if you folks know, but when Flynn was in the White House, the FBI ambushed him. Literally, just came out of nowhere.
There's another. Oh my gosh! Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of them.
This one, this one that Sean put up.
Real quick, hold on.
Tweet. Oh, go ahead.
They approached Michael Flynn, General Flynn, in the White House just out of nowhere, like slipped out doors and just ambushed him, and said, "Hey, we got a couple questions for you."
Okay.
General Flynn being a good Boy Scout. Well, maybe not even more Boy Scouts. No, sorry about that. I didn't mean Boy Scout.
Oh, BS of America.
BS of America.
Yeah.
So General Flynn, being a good guy that he is, good patriot, all-around American, said, sure, what do you want to talk about? You're the FBI. I'm national security.
Yeah, I'm
sure.
here to help.
Yeah.
I'm being helpful.
Okay, cool. Hey, we got a couple quick questions. Come over here and let's talk. So he did.
Can you put your hand on this Bible real quick?
It's all he did. And that was the ambush. And Comey said, after Comey found out, was told by McCabe, we ain't got nothing on Flynn. Comey said, bum rush him. You'll get something.
Just catch him.
Catch him off guard. Yep. Just ambush him.
And ask him a question that you think that he'll know the exact answer to that won't be 100% fully accurate because you're ambushing him and you're kind of catching him off guard.
And it was over a year ago about a conversation he had that was hours long.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they actually did some psyops to get him to remember the wrong things before ambushing him.
Sure.
Kind of slipping him some false information that kind of gets you thinking, remembering things the wrong way.
That's not hard to do.
Total psyops operation. This is all speculation on my part, but it would not surprise me, especially if it's critical that they get him to lie to the FBI. Then wouldn't it stand to consider that they would ensure it?
Yes.
By doing these things?
Yes.
So my speculation is that prior to the bum rush, they may have actually did a little psyops to get him remember things incorrectly, then ask him about those specific things to get him to say the false information, which they could then use as evidence for lying to the FBI, which Flynn would be left scratching his head like, what just happened?
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. We met his son, and we had this conversation with him where we were trying to get him to divulge a little bit more detail, but he basically was like, guys, I can't even talk about this at all, so I can't, so that's it. But we read his face, and we just knew by reading Michael Flynn Jr.'s face that he knew his family was being railroaded so hard. He was just like, he basically said, the truth will come out one day, and when it does, I'm going to be so relieved. That's basically what he said.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Sean Davis's third tweet, compare these two pages. One of them, there are two columns. Normally when you read a book,
it's like a book.
It's like one column. This is two columns.
Sometimes like a newspaper almost.
Yeah, or like sometimes school textbooks will be in multiple columns.
Yeah.
So this has two columns. The one column on the left is 100% redacted. The whole thing.
There's nothing.
Out.
You can't even see the periods.
No, they redacted the periods. We don't want people to know how long these sentences are.
No, could be a comma, could be a run-on. We don't want them to know.
We do not want them to know. The other column on the right is unredacted. There's no redactions on the other side. So half of this entire thing's completely redacted. The after the unredacted version has almost, I think it has one word redacted. So the entire column that was originally redacted is now unredacted. And Sean Davis writes, compare these two pages. The initial redacted version hid clear testimony that the FBI did not think Flynn lied. McCabe says the two people who interviewed Flynn didn't think he was lying, and not a great beginning of a false statement case. This is coming from McCabe.
Man.
This is coming from me. That was redacted. So literally the only thing the DOJ is deciding needs to remain classified from the people is the information that would ruin their case politically with the very people of the American country. Yeah,
DOJ, FBI, CYA.
Look, this is a political operation, and what did we just say earlier about politics? It needs to have a majority of people supporting it, or else it's politically dead. They needed to redact this to keep their damn investigation alive. They're a bunch of liars. They're lying to the people. They're lying by omission in order to falsely suggest to the American people that there's any merit whatsoever to this stupid, dishonest, un-American, anti-American, treasonous investigation to perform a coup d'etat of a duly elected constitutional president of the United States. This is the representative of the people who has been able to attain power constitutionally by us going out and voting, and the deep state unelected officials in the Department of Justice are trying to reverse this democratic process by doing this coup d'etat, much of which they're keeping secret using classifications that are supposed to be for
real classified stuff,
national security reasons, and they're doing it to keep it from us. These people are in a war against the American people, and they're making it look like, we're at war against foreign influence on governments. There is none. They made that up. The influence that they're at war with is the influence of American citizens going out and voting based on their own knowledge. The misinformation that they're trying to claim that's from the Russian government to mislead us into voting for the wrong people is actually them misleading the American people by hiding truths from us that would end this investigation. It's that simple.
It is that simple. It really is. And Devin Nunes this morning took to Fox and Friends. He had a really great interview. It's a phone call interview, but Devin Nunes, if you don't know, he was the one that came out with the Nunes memo, exposing that there is no there. And so he called in to Fox and Friends, and he was talking about this investigation with them.
Well, yeah, this is the ongoing problem here with this special counsel. We found out Friday from the judge. It kind of looks like this whole investigation has gone off the rails. Now, what we've been investigating in the House Intelligence Committee is FISA abuse and other matters involving the beginning of what is called a counterintelligence investigation. Now, remember, they opened up this counterintelligence investigation. I think this is really important for the American people to understand. This is done in a secret manner. If you have a counterintelligence investigation opened up on you as an American citizen, this is done secretly with only a few people's knowledge. And if they go to court, they go to a secret court to get a warrant on you, like they did with Carter Page. So there is a very small apparatus in the Congress in our country that holds the check and balance authority between Congress and the executive branch. And when the Obama administration decided to move forward on a counterintelligence investigation in a campaign of all things, that's how we've gotten to here. So we continue to peel the onion back.
Think about that. That's how we got to here. Obama administration, and I don't care what anybody says, this was Obama's people. This was Hillary Clinton's people. This was the people's, that's George Soros's of the world's, to maintain and hold power, to hold the money, the kings and queens. These were the people, the powers that be. Obama, you were president. This is under your watch. You all opened an investigation during an election against your opponent for the president of the United States.
They're using departments of the government as a weapon against their opposition, politically. Which is
politically.
It's weird. I know this is going to sound really weird to people, especially if they've been understanding the way our government works and the way politics have gone for the past 40, 50 years. But I honestly think that either Obama, most of his cabinet, and all of the underlings under those cabinet members, or all of the above, one or part or all, I don't think they even knew that you're not supposed to do that. And then even when they kind of learn that it's probably ill-advised, when the IRS scandal erupted against the Tea Party.
And Lois Lerner and everybody got away with it. Nobody went to jail.
I think that they realized, oh, you mean this isn't like something that would send you to jail or even get you removed or fired?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you were a Republican and you were Nixon, that would happen. But not nowadays, man.
Nowadays, they can go ahead and just do that, especially when the Speaker of the House, who was a Republican at the time, who would have been able to lead an impeachment against Obama for gross violations of trust, basically said, we're taking impeachment off the table.
Oh, yeah.
That was Speaker Boehner.
Boehner. Oh, Boehner.
He actually lives right up the road from us. He lives in Westchester.
Yeah.
So we actually know the proper pronunciation, but it's Boehner. But anyway, the point is that when the people who are in charge of protecting the people from corruption, which is the different branches of government, when Boehner said impeachment's off the table, he was essentially colluding with the executive branch. He's in charge of the legislative branch, and the executive and legislative branch and the judicial branch, all three of them are supposed to go at war with each other and balance each other's power. They're supposed to fight. They're supposed to be able to prevent the other branches from getting too much power, from abusing the people. When Boehner says impeachment's off the table, he's basically saying, hey, if you want to go ahead and abuse power, you're good to go. You're good to go. Yeah, seriously.
Oh, man. So here's Nunez again. Nunez on Flynn, Clinton email, and Mueller all wrapped. Folks, this is all, and not only that, but something else came out. This week they're investigating. They found new leads, and they're going down new roads investigating Hillary Clinton, the email scandal. It is erupting under wraps. There's all kinds of things that are coming out. What did we see today? The breaking news today was that the FBI, DOJ, one of the departments saw that that one of Hillary Clinton's, some of her computers, that some of the things were missing, stuff was disappeared, so they just went ahead and just shut it down and reopened up something else and just said, okay, Clinton, it's fine. And
Control-Alt-Delete.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden all that stuff shows up on Huma Abedin's laptop, and it was all completely classified.
Oh, this is so bad.
I mean,
somebody's got to be held accountable.
It's, I've been saying for a long time, Clinton will never go to jail. I've been saying that for a long time. She probably still won't, but
your opinion is starting to sway a little bit.
I'm getting.
I think you're exciting a lot of our listeners.
I'm getting itchy feet.
People are thinking that they would like to see it happen, not just for some sort of revenge or she was our political enemy, so wouldn't it be nice to one day see her in prison? No, I mean, there's this sense of injustice that's really bothering people in America today.
Oh, yeah.
I see it on Twitter all the time, where people will just flat out say it, but I can feel it from everybody else, and that is the sense of injustice that's happening, that people were able to do things that would wind you up in jail, but because they were a Democrat doing it basically at the direction of the most powerful people in government at the time in the Obama administration, that they don't go to jail for it and that they may never go to jail. And it just really felt like we're living in this Obama
nightmare.
No, Obama Republic. I mean, Banana Republic.
The bananas.
I meant to say Banana Republic. And it's just really bothering people. So that being said, if Trump really said, "All right, guys, we really need to start making real arrests of real people who we know have definitely, or at least send them to trial, put them in front of a judge and jury, the jury of their peers or whatever. Let's hash this thing all out for the public to see." Rice, Holder, even Obama and Clinton, the bigwigs.
Yeah.
Let the chips fall where they may. I think that would be an extremely popular sentiment.
Now, Obama going to jail, or these people, Obama or something else. I would like to see Obama put on the hot seat in the sense that
I don't even want to see him on trial, but I do want to see
he have to be in front of Congress to answer questions and
you want to see that?
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. But like, what if he says the wrong thing? End up throwing him in jail?
No.
I was breaking all kinds of laws.
Well, he could do what Comey did and just do it not under oath. Just
you mean like Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, Zuckerberg. Yeah, just not under oath.
Okay. Well, he wasn't under oath.
Right. No.
Only Diamond and Silk have to be under oath, even though their testimony was completely pointless.
Right.
That entire hearing was pointless, and then that's when you realize, oh, they were just trying to get him into a perjury trap.
Yep, absolutely. So here's back to Nunez, Flynn email, and Mueller.
Yeah, this is one of the challenges, again, in a classified setting shortly after the two agents interviewed General Flynn. This was just a couple months after, maybe a month after. We learned that the two agents didn't believe that General Flynn was lying.
Right.
Now, we all knew what was because of the felony leak of classified information to the New York Times and the Washington Post regarding the call between General Flynn and the Russian ambassador. We knew about that. Mm-hmm. So clearly there was some confusion because the agents didn't think that Flynn was lying, and Mr. McCabe even testified that they had a challenge to even bring any charges against Flynn, that he would be lying to the FBI.
So they leaked to the media about the Russian meeting that Flynn had to paint the optics, to make it look smoke and mirror, there's nothing there.
I'm telling you right now, the reason Flynn pled guilty is because it was being hidden from him what McCabe said that was redacted.
Right.
If he knew that McCabe had said that the two FBI agents that interviewed him don't think he lied, and that McCabe said himself in this memo that they don't think they have a case, he would have never pled guilty, and he would have said, take that and shove it. I know what McCabe thinks. I know what McCabe is on record saying, and I know what I said isn't a lie, and nobody thinks it's a lie, and you guys could go shove it. And so, but he ended up pleading guilty because I think this was all hidden from him.
Right. And we found out today that there was lying involved. So there you go.
Was under oath shortly after the interview. This information is well over a year old. And we put that in a report. Remember, people forget, we sent our report over to the intelligence agencies, including the FBI and Department of Justice, 6 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until Friday night that finally we get all the black markings.
Oh, Friday
they
night.
went away so that the American people could understand what actually happened here.
What is the biggest question that still remains in your mind when you look at the scope and the size now of this investigation, how many legs it's taken on? In your opinion, what is the biggest question that remains?
Well, I put it into a few different buckets. Let me just rattle through them. There's the bucket of FISA abuse and other matters that we are looking into, the counterintelligence investigation that was started on the Trump campaign. That's what we're doing in the Intelligence Committee. You have the IG report that's coming out, and then you have Chairman Gaddy and Chairman Goodlatte who are looking into the Clinton email investigation and all things from that. Those are two buckets, and then you have the third bucket, which is this special counsel, which, I don't know which direction it's going. It's hard to even know what they're doing at this point.
Yeah, that pretty much sums that up.
It's hard to know what they're doing at this point in time. So his three, he calls them
They're
buckets.
trying to stay out of jail at this point. I mean, I honestly think that Mueller, he's got to be looking at why he's doing what he's doing, which is to stay out of jail. And then everything that he's done up to this point, and then this desperate attempt. He's got to be waking up in cold sweats at this point, realizing that there's not, like, he's swinging for the fences. It's like he's down by 4, not even that. He's down by like 5 points or 8 points. He needs 2 grand slam home runs in the 9th inning in order to tie it up.
Right.
And so he's going up. Every one of his guys are going up to plate and swinging for the fences trying to get these home runs.
And they're striking out.
Yeah,
he's
got to be. He's. What did we at? We in full count with 2 outs at this point.
3 balls, 2 strikes,
and there's nobody on base yet.
Nobody
so
on base. Oh yeah, nobody on.
Yeah, he needs
bottom
to fill
of the
the bases up.
Bottom of 9th.
He's got to fill the bases up twice.
2 strikes, 3 balls, 2 outs.
He hasn't even gotten a base hit yet.
No base, and you're standing there. You're the only one there.
You're down by 8 points. You need 2 points. Oh, he needs a hell of a rally.
Yeah, so I had an audio of Louis Gohmert, but I'll just tell you, Louis Gohmert referred to Mueller investigation as a sick, sadistic voyeur.
That's wow. We're getting colorful language now. Okay, I'll take it.
He said he's sadistic voyeur, just looking in on everybody.
He called that what Mueller?
Mueller.
He looks like a sick man.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit like John Kerry.
He does, doesn't he?
Like an old oak tree.
Well, I've got to play this. We're running out of time, but I got to play this real quick. This is Rudy Giuliani of Hillary Clinton. This one real quick, and then I'll get the other one. This is
Mr. Mayor, were laws broken? Let's start with Hillary. Did she?
Yes. I've been on. Look, we go back 3 years with this, Sean, when I produced my chart.
I remember
13 crimes she committed. Yeah. And we got up to about 18.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sorry, Hillary. I know you're very disappointed you didn't win, but you're a criminal. Equal justice would mean you should go to jail.
You know, Bill would like that.
I do not know why the Justice Department is not investigating you.
Did James Comey...
James Comey fixed the whole case again.
It was rigged.
Well, you can't read that stupid report that he wrote, which is the beginning of his destruction, in which he says we're not going to prosecute. No reasonable prosecutor would indict her. No honest, reasonable prosecutor wouldn't indict her.
He said today or yesterday, Comey, he said Hillary deeply respects the rule of law. Comey said that.
Which rule?
Wow. Well, this is a very perverted man.
Wow. You know, when you hear the word pervert, you think sexual.
He should have said it like they used to say it.
Which is what?
Prevert.
Oh, is that what they call it? Prevert?
He's a prevert.
Is that before being a vert? Oh, my gosh.
So this is the Rudy Giuliani moment.
Uh-oh.
That you all been waiting for, and we'll pick this one apart.
130,000. I mean, which is going to turn out to be perfectly legal.
Oh, the Stormy Daniels.
That money was not campaign money. Sorry, I'm giving you a fact now that you don't know. It's not campaign money. No campaign finance violation.
I thought that
so
too.
They funneled it through the law firm.
Did you hear his words? Hannity said, so they funneled it through a law firm.
Right. He's almost making the case that there was money laundering.
The word he said was they funneled. Oh, so they funneled it through a law firm. And here's Rudy.
Funneled through a law firm, and the president repaid it.
I didn't know he did.
Yep.
There's no campaign finance law.
Zero.
So the president.
He's surprised Sean there.
So
he did.
The
Sean was
made
taken
by.
Everybody was nervous about this from the very beginning. I wasn't. I knew how much money Donald Trump put into that campaign. I said, 130,000. He's going to do a couple of checks for 130,000. When I heard Cohen's retainer of 35,000, when he was doing no work for the president, I said, but that's how he's repaying. That's how he's repaying.
That sounds damning.
With a little profit and a little margin for paying taxes.
A little profit, a little margin for paying taxes.
Do you know the president didn't know about this? I believe that's what
he didn't
Michael
know about
said.
the specifics of it, as far as I know. But he did know about the general arrangement that Michael would take care of things like this, like I take care of things like this for my clients.
Okay.
So I think that he was leaving a little bit too much information out, which has caused people to jump to a lot of conclusions there. It sounds like that he was admitting to Trump being involved in money laundering, and in order to attempt to sidestep the campaign finance reform and all that. I think that he didn't do a very good job of explaining.
No, he didn't, and Trump reeled him in, and he came out with a subsequent statement and said, well, my bad. I mean, I didn't mean what I meant. I meant what I meant. I meant.
I think what it boils down to is this. This is really simple. I agree with the assessment that somebody came up with yesterday, or I think it was the day before yesterday, where they said that Trump would have paid this money regardless of whether or not he was running for president.
Right.
In order to say that this is somehow a payment for the campaign, you have to make the assertion, or you have to make the judge believe that he only made this payment because he was running for president. But we know that him being a married man, if he were to have some sort of relations with this woman, which that's what's being alleged, that he would have made this payment to keep it secret from Melania regardless.
Okay, so flat out.
So not campaign.
So here's the whole thing. The whole thing in a nutshell, whether he lied to the American people or not about what he did with Stormy in 2005.
Is not illegal.
Whether he lied to us or not. If he told us a bald face eagle lie.
Bold face is the type.
Okay.
Like when you're typing and you want it to be bold. That's
okay.
Bold face.
This is bald eagle faced lie.
Yeah, it's bald.
Flat out. It's flying right in your face. That's a bald eagle lie. Flying in your face.
But bald eagles don't lie. All right, get to your point.
It don't make never mind. There ain't no there. CNN, MSNBC, they're screaming, and they're comparing this to Monica Lewinsky.
Right, because they're saying the reason that Monica Lewinsky brought down Bill Clinton was because he lied. We lied to Congress.
Right.
Trump's not lying to Congress. He's allowed to lie to it. Now they're trying to make it a scandal that he lied to the press. Whatever. Oh, so you get your panties in a wad because he said something that you think isn't true to you, and you're a journalist. Well, guess what? You're not a congressman, so sit down and shut up.
And Mark Levin railing all week long, you cannot criminally charge a sitting president.
Right, I agree with this. I think you either impeach him or you move on.
Right. You either, if there's a criminal violation, you need to impeach him, and once he's out of the presidency, then maybe follow up with a whatever.
I've made this argument on the show a long time ago. I said, you are not sending the D.C. police to the White House, knock on their door and say, we have a warrant for your arrest. No. That does not happen in America. You do not arrest and jail the sitting president. If you want him removed from the White House, you have to either vote him out or you have to impeach him through Congress, and that's it. Period.
Absolutely. Wrapping it all up, folks. Collective narcissism drives liberal belief in fake news. By Breitbart News, exaggerated feelings of moral superiority make liberals vulnerable to believing fake news. Researchers at Nottingham Trent University found liberals and conservatives are equally likely to believe untrue news stories, like the one I believed about old girl and bestiality.
I don't blame you for believing it. Just saying.
Untrue news stories that correspond to their worldview and dismiss factual information that undermines it. But that their reasons for doing so differ. While right-wingers follow their gut instinct, and my instinct was that she is such a vile person.
It made sense. It made sense that she would have sexual relations with the dog.
Whoever wrote that article, you need to get paid. That was good.
Okay.
You got me. You
monetize
that instinct in order to judge the veracity of the news. On the other hand, high levels of collective narcissism, strong belief in the righteousness of their ideology and of others who share it, affected how liberals respond to stories.
And they're wrong about that. They're wrong about how good, like, what is narcissism? Narcissism is the belief that
Obama?
That you're somehow superior to everybody else.
That you're godlike or that you are a god. There's
Right.
a lot of Hollywood elites that are narcissistic.
They're wrong about that because of their beliefs. Their beliefs are inferior to right-wing beliefs, period. I used to be a left-winger. I'm not just some guy that's like, you know what, I don't like you because I'm better than you. No, I was there. I was the liberal. I changed to a right-winger because I don't want to be inferior. I want to grow and become a better person, which is what causes me to become a right-winger.
Right. Oh, wow, folks. The fastest 3 hours you'll spend anywhere in your entire life right here on Smith Radio. Folks, if you like what you hear and you enjoy the show, please share it with your friends and your family. Go to smithradio.com, crush the Patreon button. There's all kinds of buttons to crush. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the Twits, the tweets, wherever. We're all over the place for you.
Share this show because we are now on Vimeo, and guess what? People need to learn about it, so share this to everybody all week long. And see you guys next week.
Peace out.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.